Right, hello, welcome back. Episode 75, three-fourths of the way to 100. Let's go. Almost there. We'll get there eventually. Maybe we'll get to episode 650.
Ooh, I like
Ooh,
that number.
I wonder why.
Ooh.
Anyway, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
And that's how you do a segue now. All right, well, I'm excited to talk about some speed running as always. So, want to kind of summarize what you do in the sphere?
Yeah. Um, Hello. For those that don't know me, I'm Bird650. I've been speedrunning since 2014, so a decent amount of time now, 10 years. Currently, I do a lot of like randomizer things and Archipelago. We can go into that in a bit, but it's basically a lot of randomizers of games and a lot of Mario games as well, a lot of 3D Marios. So it's kind of like a smorgasbord of everything. I kind of started with Mario 64 and then kind of bled out into everything else surrounding it. So
Feel like most people start off with Mario 64, so it seems to work out pretty well.
yeah, it's definitely one of the most popular games out there to both run and play. So it's not a bad starting point for sure.
Yep, I mean, really good movement in that game. Really easy to just pick up for anyone, really, even if you're
Yeah, and
not going for something incredibly difficult.
yeah, it's definitely like it's one of those games where it's not hard to get into whatsoever. You can just kind of pick up play and you go at your own rate. But there's such a high like skill ceiling for that game that
Oh
like
my, yeah.
just depending on whatever time you put into it is kind of the results you'll get out of it, which is cool. If you want to stick around in it for a long time, you can get really good. If you just kind of want to dabble, you can still have fun with it. So
And that's why it's popular.
very much so, yes.
So, what got you started with that?
um Man, so I think it was 2013. I was at a friend's house and I forget what games we were playing, but then buddy of mine had busted out his old N64, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember the N64. It was such a good time." And he was like, "Yeah, did you know that people do speed running?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means at all. Like, what is this?" And then he was like, "Have you ever heard of awesome games done quick?" And I was like, "Nope, no idea what that means." And then he showed off a lot of different runs from it, and I was like, "Oh, it's really cool. You're just breaking games and going fast. Like that's a cool concept." And then he showed me a run from Siglemic in 2013. I think it was a 16 star, if I recall. But I remember watching that and being amazed that you can beat a game in like 20 minutes, and B, I was like, this is my favorite game of all time up to this point. I would love to do this. So we pulled out the controllers and we started like trying to do the tricks, and I think we were able to do like the backwards long jump, but that was about it. Like it was really bad. But at that point I was like, oh, I might be hooked on this. I kind of want to like learn how to do this. And by the end of 2013, beginning of 2014, I started doing some runs of 64, not on stream or anything like that. I wasn't doing any sort of content creation at the time. And I think it was by yeah, it was by like summer of 2014 was when I was like, okay, maybe I'll try streaming this. But I had done like a couple 16-star runs and like one 120 star, and I think my 120 star time at the time was like 8.5 hours or something. It was basically a casual playthrough.
Yeah, mine's still
um,
almost 6 hours, so
Heck yeah, we like to hear it.
someday.
But yeah, it was just kind of one of those things where it was like a friend showed me, it looked really cool, and I was like, there's no way I'll ever do this. And then the first time you hit a trick in there, you're like, wait a second, maybe I can do this. And then the addiction just kind of started from there. And that was really how it started. And then it just kind of bled out into other Mario games like Sunshine and Galaxy, Galaxy 2. Um, there's a big long list, Mario ROM hacks, all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah, well, yep, good starting points, of course. So,
mhm,
Mario 64, the GOAT, as always. So
mhm.
it's always good to branch off from it too and do a bunch of other stuff because all the Mario games are so different.
Yeah. definitely.
So it takes a lot of skill to like adapt to each different one. Especially the 3Ds, like you're dealing with so much movement mechanics and they're all just drastically different. I guess not Galaxy
Yeah.
1 and 2, but
Yeah, those are a little similar in some ways, but
a little bit.
you know, yeah.
But I mean they're all super different, so
Yeah, I think one of the hardest transition was I think the next game after 64 was I learned Sunshine, and having to first off play the game is just awful.
yeah.
Sorry
Hmm.
for all the Sunshine lovers out there. I don't like it,
Don't worry,
but
I am a Sunshine hater as well. So,
thank God. Okay, we can still talk. That's awesome.
yeah.
But I will say though, the speedrun is like it kind of makes that game more bearable than the casual playthrough of it because like it's not only just because you're beating it faster, but like it does have fun movement, right? It offers
Oh
some
yeah.
really fun movement, and if you get really good, it's a super impressive speed run. I just I never liked flood, and that's the main mechanic of the game. So it was like, ugh, I don't want to do this, but also I kind of liked watching people play it. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe the speedrun will make it better, which it did, but it still throws a bunch of crap at you, and you know how it is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did not enjoy the casual experience all too well. Eventually I'll have to try it again just to
Eh,
yeah.
I
Like
mean,
play it on GameCube specifically because I did the 3D All-Stars version. So that was
oh
Switch
yeah.
Pro, which is close enough, but you got to have the original
Yeah.
experience in there as well. But
God.
I've always thought the speed run is gonna just it works good for speed running. So
Yeah.
like
Again,
bad games make good speed runs, you know?
yeah, yeah. No, exactly. I mean, there's a reason why there's an awful and silly block games done quick. You know, they
Hmm.
make fantastic runs, but again, it's a good run for anyone who
Oh yeah.
runs it. You're doing great. I just don't like the game itself.
I think that's fair. I think
Yeah.
a good amount of people share that sentiment. It's a
Yes,
weaker 3D Mario in the grand scheme of things, but
I would agree with that.
I still like the assumption that it was made by Sega. That's why there's like voice acting and it's so awkward and different.
Yeah, they really did just pivot so far away from like the original. Like you had a couple of voice lines in the original, and that was it.
Hmm.
Whereas Sunshine, you go from 64 to Sunshine, they're like, all right, Bowser, you've got like a human voice. That's cool. Bowser Jr. is thrown into the mix. You also sound just like a human. Uh, Peach is saying some words sometimes. Like it's just kind of like I don't mind that they do that, but it's kind of weird at the time. You weren't
Oh, it's
expecting.
very weird.
Yeah, especially when Bowser's like in his hot tub and he's like, "How dare you disturb my vacation?" It's like, where's this voice coming from, dude?
Yeah, it's one of the games of all time for sure. So
Yeah, it was on a disc. That's for sure.
yeah, a smaller one, but
Yeah, yeah,
because the GameCube was interesting like that. But
yeah. But I do love the GameCube overall. There's
oh
there's a
yeah,
lot of good games.
the GameCube's the only console I never owned. Like I had a Wii, which is technically
Oh.
one, but yeah,
Yeah, you're fine with
I
the
didn't have
Wii.
any. I didn't have a controller, so I couldn't play anything.
Oh, that sucks.
So
There's
the GameCube library is essentially still pretty foreign to me. I want to
really.
change that sometime because yeah, there's a lot of heavy hitters there.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend it. There's a lot of good ones. A lot of them could turn into good speed games too. Like, I don't know if you like turn-based stuff, but Paper Mario has a good speed run for it. And it's a very, very good game.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, you have Zelda games with Wind Waker that are absolutely insane speed runs and also very good games. You have Sunshine, which exists. That's cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Luigi's
I don't want
Mansion's a
to.
pretty good speedrun too.
Yeah, actually, Luigi's Mansion. That was a game I did run. So I had this like phase of Mario 64 for the first like probably 2014 to 2015, like a solid year of just that. And then I had branched out into like, okay, what else can we learn? That's where the Sunshine came into play. But also, there's two other games that went into play at 2015, and one of them was Luigi's Mansion. I think I'd watch Fi-Fi. Most people
Yeah.
watch and know Fi-Fi. And I was like, "This looks really cool. I'll try it out." And I liked it a lot. It was fun, but I only did a handful of runs because I fell back into Mario, the other 3D collectathons. But Luigi's Mansion has a really good run. And the other run that I got with at the time was Mario Party. And I always get the question, "Hey, how do you speedrun Mario Party?" Because you just it's all RNG. And that's the fun
Sure
part.
is. Yeah.
It mostly is. But it was something about Minigame Island specifically from Mario Party that was really fascinating on how people either just optimized certain games, intentionally fell off after collecting a certain amount of coins, like stuff like that, that had me really interested in that portion of it, which then graduated to like all board speedruns where you try to clear all the boards and you have like, okay, a really long mini game shows up and you're like, all right, I need to either sack this one so that way we move through quicker, or if I'm behind, I need to play it out. And there's a lot of like thinking that goes into it as well as the RNG. I mean, it's RNG galore, that's for sure. But there's a lot of thinking that goes into it. And it's also one of those like more laid back runs. You know how like I feel like there's two different categories of runs where it's like you have ones where you have to hardcore focus and it's very strict and all this stuff. And then you have runs that are kind of like, yeah, I can just kind of play it and start running it. And it kind of falls into that category. And obviously there's room to improve and things to practice, but like it's one of those kind of ease yourself into games and then you get hooked and then you play a lot more.
And yeah, that's like the only way to improve because you just have to grind out RNG until it works out.
Yeah, you get to a point where like you finish a run deathless on minigame island and you're like, well, that was really good except for these four minigames that were not perfect RNG. I guess I'll do it again,
Hmm.
you know? So
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't deal with RNG. I play with it. I play no RNG games.
You know what has RNG? Super Mario Sunshine, baby.
Ah, so I've heard.
No, I understand that though. RNG could be super frustrating.
Hmm. I just like being in control of my run most of the time. There are
Mhm.
exceptions here and there, but overall, I just get mad if something doesn't work out. And it's like, well, that wasn't my fault. Now I'm mad.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I just lost 30 seconds for existing. I'm sorry. Like, cool,
Exactly.
dude. Yeah,
But yeah.
I'm with you on that.
But it sure is fun to watch at least. If I'm not the one suffering through RNG, then it's okay. I'll watch it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, watching runs from the other side is always great. You know.
Yeah, because then it doesn't matter. You can be excited without having to have the depression of not doing it, you know? That's for them to
Yeah,
deal with.
yeah, yeah. If you're watching, you just go, "Oh, that sucks." Hey, new run. Good luck. My favorite thing though is when people are just like, "You should just reset."
Just
Like,
reset.
yeah, dude, just or time save for next run. Like, you know,
You
I
don't
kind of like
say.
that time save. I wanted that here right now, not the next run. But that's, I mean,
Twitch chat. We love you.
we do, we really do, we really do. You spice it up for us. I love it. Thank you.
But yeah, the minigame island specifically, I know is very interesting as a speed run because no other Mario Party really has like this level-based story mode, quote unquote, type deal. I don't know. It's very unique to that game.
Yeah, they kind of do it in Mario Party 2 as well with the minigame coaster. And then after that is when they kind of go to like, okay, here's like a story mode, and the story mode is just kind of playing all the boards, which we already
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, minigame
So
based story mode, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, no, you're right though. That's the only like situation as far as I can recall where you speedrun that. I mean, I guess the latest Mario Party Superstars, there's like a 100 minigame speed run there, so you play all of them there, but like it's not like an official mode like they
Hmm.
did in the first two. Which I actually loved like the most. I thought that was really interesting and really cool. Kind of sad they took that away from most Mario parties. Although I haven't played 9 and 10, but I don't know about those.
Uh, no one should, so it's fine.
Okay. That's fair.
Actually, I've heard 9 is okay, but take that as you will.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I'll give it a shot sometime, but
Got to do the Mario Party marathon, just all of them.
they do have a run for that. That's similar
Do
to the
they?
602. Yeah.
That
It's it's like the
oh.
Mario Party, like, Octathon, but then they added more games, so I don't know what it's called.
Death-a-thon.
octathon of something. Yeah, I
Oh,
don't
yeah,
know.
it'd be more now.
It's more now, and it's something wild. But everybody like it's a whole thing. It's kind of wild.
Wait, what counts as a game completion?
I think it's just like story mode things. So
Oh
like
God.
Mario Party 1 would be your minigame island, Mario Party 2 would be minigame coaster. I believe people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what those are. But then it goes into like Mario Party 3's like story mode, which is like a 5-hour run.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
And
isn't
then
this gonna take like 3 days?
well, no. But it does take a long time. I think it rivals the 602, but is like a little less time than that. Because again,
Really?
like
Wow.
Mario Party 1 is like 40 like a solid run's like a 40. World record should be like around 36, I believe. Um, so like that's not a long run, right? And minigame coasters also around depending on what difficulty you play on. Like if you play on easy, I don't know if you have to play hard, but easy's like 12 minutes. So
Oh,
like those
okay.
could be
Well,
really fast. But then you get hit with a 5-hour run right after. It's like, okay.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Those games are all different.
Yeah, yes. And some of which I don't remember as well, but
Well, interesting concept at least.
yeah, yeah.
Gotta love the marathons.
Yep. We just wrapped up a 602 what was it last week? That
Oh
was
yeah.
fun.
I've had so many people on here that participate in it. You're the first one that participates after the big marathon, so
Oh, okay. So you get like all the hype from other people being like, I'm so excited. I'm going to do this. And then I'm here to tell you, man, that sucked. I'm not doing it again. But I'll
oh,
probably do it again.
yeah. I mean, that's
It-
speedrunning. Never
yeah.
again. Oh, back again next year.
Yeah. And you know, the run itself is fun. And luckily this time I was in a call of people, which like helped keep me awake. But it was still like a 24-hour run. And by the last couple hours, you're like, okay, I'm kind of done playing video games right now. I kind of want to sleep.
Yeah, I was watching. I obviously watched through Oddme side since live world
Oh, yeah.
record viewership, but
Yeah, of course.
but yeah, everyone in that call sounded sleep deprived, to put it lightly.
Yeah, I tell my chat that was a fever dream. We never speak of it again. If you were
Mm.
there, you got to enjoy it. If you weren't, you missed out, and that's it.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I definitely got to experience part of it, so
That's great. I'm also sorry, but that's great.
hey, it's content. I mean, it's fine.
It was something, I'll tell you that.
It sure was.
You throw a spike in a call for anything, it's you know, all bets are off.
True, true. So so yeah, the minigame island specifically, I know
Mhm.
I've seen a little bit of it. Like how much RNG is it for that run specifically?
So I would say there's RNG all over the place, right?
Hmm.
But there's a lot of it is very minimal actually, and there's only a few mini games that are like true like run determiners, whether you got a run going or not. You have some mini games that are kind of auto scrollers, like the skateboard with the piranha plant, where you just kind of play the game and that's it. Um, you do have if you're playing on console like N64, because you could there's a few different options you have it for now, like the Switch and whatnot. But if you play on console, which has more lag, um, games like the rotating mini game with the raft going down the river. Um, there's actually like certain spots that you kind of want to hit, so that way it doesn't generate as much lag and slow down the game. So there's like certain areas along the river you want to actually smack it into. So some of it's like lag reduction, but it could be a big time difference as well. A good example of that is in World 4, the hand car havoc minigame. Um, with both players or both teams going at the same time, the game lags like crazy.
Hmm.
But if you get the really good RNG of the computer actually falling off early, you save like 10 seconds on lag. It's kind of ridiculous.
Holy shit.
Um, so
Okay.
yes, it's ridiculous. So part of that is from just lag, and the other half is pure RNG, like pattern based games and stuff like that. So we'll say the cutout mini game with the little jackhammer, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, if there's 3 set patterns to that, the bomb is the fastest and the goom is the slowest. I feel like it's like 6 to 8 seconds different. difference on that itself. The limbo minigame has two different layouts, and one is like 8 seconds slower. So if you get bad RNG there, and on the Goomba, that's already like 15, 16 seconds gone like that. Um, just out of your control, nothing there.
Yeah.
And then
Sounds
there's a
fun.
couple of like actual run killers that will be RNG determining. So like the bowl over minigame, you only get one shot at it and you have to have all the computers line up. And if they start out all spread out, you're either sitting there for 15 seconds waiting for them to bunch up, or you just chuck it and pray. And once you get to like record level, it's a chuck and pray. You can't just waste time.
Mm.
So it's tough.
Yeah. Sounds fun.
Yeah, it's very fun. Just don't go for record because you're just going to be resetting over not failing.
Yeah. That's how it goes.
hmm
Gotta love those RNG speedruns.
You know, you're speaking of RNG speedruns, and I kind of was crapping on them a little bit, but have you heard of the game I Can't Believe It's Not Gambling?
I know of Let's Go Gambling, but that's a little different.
It's a little different. I Can't Believe It's Not Gambling was a game that came out years ago. It's like an indie game that made fun of loot boxes.
Mm.
And so basically it was like you played a game of Snake, you got money for that, and then you spent that money on loot boxes. And there's a speed run for that game where you get all collectibles. So all you're doing is you're playing Snake, and then you're clicking open loot box and praying you get all the collectibles. And that's it. It's all RNG aside from the first minute of playing that Snake game. And it's some of the most fun I had because you just mindlessly press a button and then you're like, oh, we got all the collectibles of this tier. We move on to the next one. And it's like 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours of Snake and praying.
Yeah, it's bad.
Well, that's certainly a choice.
Hey, you know what? It's very easy to get into. Can you play Snake? You're
Yeah,
good to go.
fair enough. Can't argue with that.
Yeah,
I'll
it's a
make
good
sure
time.
to add that to my speedrun backlog right away.
Yeah, give it a shot. You could do full game percent, or you could just do one of the categories for like 25 minutes, and you're good to go. It's not bad.
A thrilling experience for the Twitch audience right there.
It's a great just chatting game.
Fair. Actually, yeah, that works out quite well.
Mhm.
Twitch can't even get mad at that point.
Right,
It's just Snake.
right. Yeah, and it's I can't believe it's not gambling. It can't be gambling. There's
Oh,
no gambling.
and it's not gambling. It says it right
Yeah,
there. Yeah, all right.
yeah.
There you go. Yep. Let me just write that down. Okay.
Oh, I can't wait to watch if you do actually do
No,
that.
no. Oh, we just cracking jokes. I can't see myself
Dang.
doing that. But sounds funny at least.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So I guess we've been bouncing around a bit, so I'm not sure on the timeline side of things what we've gone over and what we've skipped. So
Yeah, so with Mario Party, that's still about 2015. Mario Party Sunshine, Luigi's Mansion a little bit. I definitely hurt my hand playing Mario Party because I didn't have a Hori mini pad at the time. I had a
oh
just a
no.
classic N64 controller, so you know how those games go. Um,
Yeah.
but outside of the rotating games, it was so fun that I said, you know what? What about Mario Party 2? And so the next game in line was Mario Party 2. We did minigame coaster for that. That was super fun. Very similar concept to Mario Party 1. Um, and then I was like, you know what, we're on a roll. Might as well go for Mario Party 3. And that was also fun, but a very different run. Obviously, there was no minigame speed run there. It was more so the story, which is 5-ish hours, a little bit less than 5 hours, with a lot more RNG. But that too was also super fun. So there was like a little Mario Party era that I always came back to every so often. Um, like you said, you're never really truly done with a speed game. You always come back to it eventually.
Hmm.
Um, but at the time as well, and I'm sure some other 602 runners that you've talked to probably had a similar story of like watching the 602 very early on and seeing people like Chris 360 Chrism and whatnot do it and being like, "Hey, that looks cool. I kind of want to learn that." Um, and at that point, I was already running 2 of the games, so I was like, "What if we learned Galaxy games? That would be cool." So Galaxy 1 and 2 are next on the list. Um, so while doing those Mario Party games, Mario Party was kind of like the safe spot when I didn't feel like practicing hardcore and grinding. I was like, I'm gonna just play some Mario Party and grind, but it's not as painful to me, even though it's full of RNG. Um, but then yeah, we did some Galaxy speedruns for that, 1 and 2, and did my first 246 speedrun, which is the kind of the any percent version of the 602. Um, and that had some really fun people involved. That was again, I feel like it had to have been at least 2015 when I did that. So I think summer of 2015 is what I would guess. Maybe the winter, but it's one of those two times. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of that. And then I wanted to get back into Mario 64 specifically, but I didn't feel like playing the vanilla game. I was introduced to ROM hacks by some people that I watched on Twitch, which are incredibly fun games. 2 of which I actually picked up for a speed run. Those were Star Road and the Green Stars, which
Mm.
at the time were 2 of the biggest ROM hacks out there.
Yeah, I've played
Um,
both.
yeah, they're fun. I think Star Road is actually still pretty solid to this day.
Hmm.
Green Stars,
It's all right.
at the time it was good at the time. I think looking back on it, not perfect, but it was a fun run. And I watched people like Ryan or the Epic Flame and whatnot. Oki Karume, there's a couple other names. Um, but I saw them doing it, and I was like, I want to do that because that seems fun, and I like Mario. So I stuck with that for a little bit. I didn't take it like as seriously as vanilla, but it was a nice like I want to play Mario, but not play Mario 64 kind of game. And so those were really fun. It was a good time. Um, Also, at the time, I was still doing Mario 64, but our first AGDQ rolled around. My first one, it was 2016, and I still remember Chris, 360 Chris, and walking around with an IQ.
Hmm.
Do you know the IQ?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think it was AGDQ 2016. It might have been a later one, but I'm gonna assume it was one of those. It was one of the 2016 ones, I think. Um, maybe 2017, but early GDQ. And he's walking around with his IQ. He's like, "Hey, you run Mario 64?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you want to do a run on the IQ?" And I was like, "I don't know what that means, but sure." So I did a run, and it was the strangest thing I've ever done because that it was such a different feel. It was kind of like the Shindao version, but it wasn't. It was
Hmm.
just you can't. I don't think you could do BLJs and whatnot. Um, I think it had the 180-degree turns on the trees whenever you grab them. So it was it was an experience to say the least. But it was super fun. And then that got me to be like, okay, I kind of want to get back into Mario 64. Um, so I did that, came back to that for a while, did a couple more ROM hacks, like shorter ones. Um, and then I think I took a break from Nintendo for a little bit, and I went down the Crash Bandicoot rabbit hole.
Hmm.
I don't know if you've had the chance to play those games.
I did not have PlayStations in my life,
Okay,
so
gotcha, fair. So I'm gonna go with no.
yeah.
But Crash Bandicoot had just released a like a remaster, a remake of the original games, um, and so I got involved with that game on the remake, and it was incredibly fun. I grew up playing the game. I loved it. So the remake was great. And I got kind of hooked on that for a while. I was like surprisingly like in the top 10 for like a little bit.
Mm.
And I was like, this is nuts. But then I kind of put it down after a while, as you do with other things. Um, but yeah, that was a super fun time. I threw in a little bit of Diddy Kong Racing. That's a
Ooh.
really good run. Um, God, there's a long there's some meme runs involved too. Um, like
Those
again,
are
the I can't
important.
believe, yeah, the I can't believe it's not gambling is like one of them. Uh, but there came a point in time, and I think everybody asks this question at some point, and it's how can you speed run blank, right? And one of them came up. It was how can you speed run League of Legends?
Hmm.
And I said, you know what? I'm gonna look it up. And I looked on speedrun.com at the time, and it had categories for it. It was like you can do the tutorial, right? That was like the main speed run. And so I did League of Legends runs for like 3 days, but it was like the stupidest thing ever. It was so funny. You just like a 10-minute speed run for like the tutorial, and that was it. It was good. Um, I'm trying to think of other meme runs like that because again, myself. Oh, I think you know what? Another one was Granny. If you've ever seen those
Oh my
games,
god, yep.
yes, I ran Granny the second one, and then I watched a run after doing my own version of a run, and then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna stick with this game for a little bit longer than I initially thought because it seems like fun. Eventually got world record for it.
Well, there you go.
I now I think I'm second place now if I look it up, but I had world record for like a couple years, and it was actually really competitive. Surprisingly, it was like a 4 minute speed run, but you just kind of like have everything line up for you perfectly and do the things, and it's on a set seed, so it's not really RNG dependent. You just kind of do the out of balance tricks, do what you need to do, and whatnot. Um, but yeah, that was a fun time too. It was a good one.
Was that your first world record in something?
No, at this time I think it was the third
Hmm.
because I had Minigame Island for a couple years.
Oh, you did get
Um,
that. Okay.
I did get that for a couple years. It became super competitive, and then I think I'm tied for third right now. Um, so the game's super competitive,
Yeah.
but had that for a couple years when it was kind of more relaxed and whatnot. Um, at GDQ, we did a co-op run of Super Mario Party, and
Hmm.
that was the River Survival, which is a game mode where you have four people on a raft and you kind of work together to move down the river as fast as possible while playing mini games. It was myself, Crescendo, Pants, and Chrism, and we did it on hard difficulty, normal and hard. I think our normal one got bopped, but we did it on hard as well, and we had the world record time for that. That was a handful of years ago as well. So that was a fun one. Uh, if I look here, I can't believe it's not gambling because there's like three people that run it. So woo, if you want to count that, sure. And
Very
then
important.
Grand, yeah, 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 no,
Prestigious
100%.
world record. Yeah.
I hold that one near and dear. I don't think anyone will take it because no one wants to play the game, but that's okay. And then Granny Chapter 2 was the other one I had for a couple years, and then I think I'm in second right now. But yeah, I had a few is fun times.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Granny for whatever reason was like super popular. The original one.
Yeah,
Everyone
that
was
one.
playing it.
Yep, that one was very popular. They came out with the second one, and then a good amount of people were playing it. Not as much, but a good amount. And then they came out with a third one. um, if I want to time jump for a sec, my good friend Maxi Lobes, he did a Nanthology run at GDQ, which is playing all three Granny games. Um, and that was like an hour long, but it was so fun. I was on the couch for that, and yeah, it was one of the most entertaining couches I've ever been a part of because we didn't really know 100% what was going on the whole time, and I feel like that's a good way to approach it from the couch perspective.
Yeah. Gotta have the live reaction from people that are mic'd up.
Yeah, yeah. I think having a good combination of like someone who knows the game and then someone who hasn't seen it and is ready to just be like, "Whoa, what is that?" Like, I think it fits well for that kind of event.
Oh yeah. Now I recall. I don't know if I watched it, but I recall seeing that run at some point.
The Nandology
Yeah.
or oh, okay.
What was that?
Um,
Which GDQ was that?
that was pretty recent, so it might have been
Pittsburgh?
either AGDQ 2024,
Hmm.
so Pittsburgh, or I don't think it was the SGDQ before. I think it was Pittsburgh. So not this recent GDQ, but the one before that.
Yeah, I was probably in a hotel room and we had it on and we're laughing at it. That- That's
There's a good
probably what it
chance.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, if Star wins on the couch, it's a funny time. That's for sure.
So yeah, I do have some recollection of that run specifically. So
Dope. Yeah, it was a good time for sure.
all right, we can jump back to the past now.
Okay. All right. So looking here, because I actually need to pull it up just in case I forgot anything. I think I've nailed everything so far. At this time, I did skip. It was a Mario 64 randomizer had come out. It looks about four
Oh
years
yeah.
ago, 4 or 5 years ago. Um, and that was like it's not the first randomizer I've seen, but it was the first randomizer I played, I believe. I had watched Ocarina of Time, and that game just works so well for randomizer. Um, but I figured I'd do some Mario 64. So I did some of that. That's super fun. I got into Ocarina of Time randomizer as well. And this is kind of where it kind of shifted. Um, Still doing traditional runs, but also throwing in that good mix of randomizer to where it really feels fresh every time. Because when you do like a few thousand runs of a game, you sometimes get a little burnout, it happens. Um,
Yeah.
but randomizer always felt so fresh because it was a different game every time. Like you're still playing the game, but it's a different game every time. It's a puzzle solving sort of thing. Um, so I got really hooked on those and played those for a while. I was also doing bingos. Um, and for those that don't know, bingos, I mean, think of an actual bingo card, but they would have objectives on the card that you fill out, and you try to fill out a bingo 5 in a row, either horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. You do like triple bingo where you get 3 in a row. There's like a lockout bingo where if you get a goal, your opponent can no longer get that goal. There's a big thing of all that stuff. Kind of all at the same time because I wasn't really like tired of running at that point. I still wanted to run, but I was tired of running the games I currently ran. So I wanted to spice it up. So we did that a lot. Chris and I developed a new game mode as well for Mario 64 called Power Star Pathway, which is it's like a big battleship board of stars all randomized, and you have to connect from left to right and top to bottom by collecting those stars.
Hmm.
Um, so it's a cool thing. If you want to check it out, it's on Chris's YouTube. Um, but it's a really cool game mode, and you play it with a randomized version of the game as well. So you kind of collect what you can, and then a path starts to form, and then you kind of route from there. So that was really fun. We obviously did battle ship as well, which is you place your ships on the stars, and then as you collect a star, a ship would get hit. You
Hmm.
sink a ship. Woohoo! It's battleship.
Yeah.
Um, so lots of ways to kind of reinvent Mario 64 at this time period because again, I didn't feel like running it, but I also still wanted to play it. So that was good. That was fun. I still do randomizers to this day. Um, we did was it Mario Party Superstars had come out, and that was mainly all mini games is what I did for that. And we did it on like master difficulty because I like pain. Why
Mm-hmm.
not?
So I've
So
noticed.
yeah, the people like watching, so I'm like, why not torment myself a little more? No, but master difficulty was pretty fun. I did that for a little bit of time. The new Kirby game came out, Kirby and the Forgotten Land, and that was a very fun game that I was interested in the run for, and did run all Waddle Dees for a little while. Um, so I did that for a little bit. That was a good time. And then Choo Choo Charles came out.
Oh.
Yes, Choo Choo Charles, the good old horror game that I feel like a lot of people probably know by now. Good old, yes, sir, they call him Charles.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was a game that I enjoyed the casual playthrough. I wanted to see, you know what, it's a new game. And again, for me, when a new game comes out, I never look at the speedrun right away. I want to get my casual playthrough of it. I think to myself, do I want to run this game now? Like, would it be an interesting run? Am I okay with losing the casual playability of this game? And if all those check off, then I'm like, okay, let me go ahead and watch a speed run. And then if that looks good, then I'll go ahead and start running. And that happened with Choo Choo Charles. I was like, all right, I don't really care about playing this game a second time. So let's look at the speed run. Speed run was like 20 minutes at the time. And I was like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's learn it. And I never got record for this game, but I was constantly bobbing between like fifth and second place. Um, it actually was pretty competitive because obviously, as you know, when a new game comes out, there's tricks being found every day.
Oh
So
yeah.
one day you might have like a 30-minute time and you're like, wow, that's second place. That's really good. And you go to bed. Next day you wake up, record has dropped down to like 21. And you're like, what just happened?
Hmm.
And it's like a huge sequence break that happens or whatever else. So that was kind of happening for a while. It was ping pong for a hot minute. It was pretty active for a few months, which is longer than I thought it was going to be. But I did stick with that for a while, and then eventually it cooled off, and I decided to go ahead and try to submit it for GDQ. And I had submitted games since 2015, pretty much. And it wasn't until I think 2023. This was my first uh, exception onto the stage for an actual runner rather than just on the couch. So
Wow.
I was able to show off Choo Choo Charles, and it actually went really, really well. So I was very excited to have that. I had a great couch behind me, and uh, it's one of those things where it's like you run a game for X amount of year, or you run games in general X amount of years in front of however many people, and you're like, okay, this is whatever. But once you're like on the stage and you take that seat and you're like, okay, I'm not doing commentary. I'm actually responsible for how this run goes. That's when the nerves hit.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I'm too like nervous about things in general when it comes to like performing for stuff. But this was the first time that I like I was like totally fine going up to it. Then I sat down in the chair and I was like, oh God. And I looked behind me and I saw a decent amount of people and I was like, oh, okay, all right, let's go ahead and do this thing, I guess. Um, and that was paired with also a mouse issue,
Oh
where
no.
I literally the sensitivity of the mouse was like half of what it usually is, and it was not adjusting whatsoever. So I just had to go with it. But luckily, the run went like super well, and I was very happy about it. And I think next time a run gets up there, I won't be as nervous. But the first like couple minutes, I was just like, oh. um, but that was super fun. So we had the Choo Choo Charles arc for a little bit. Now we're getting to more recent time. And I would say over the last like year and a half, outside of randomizers and whatnot, on traditional runs, I'd been pretty burnt out because again, I started back in I guess technically 2013, but streaming it in 2014. It was really hard for me to start a run of any game and just stick to it when something went wrong. I was just kind of like, I don't feel like doing this. Um, so I kind of like went to more like casual gaming and doing the randomizers on the side. And it was still fun that way. But then I watched the previous 602, and for some reason that just reignited my like I want to speedrun more again, as well as being at GDQ. I feel like when you're at GDQ, you get that like fire of like, okay, I want to go back and crush this game. Um, so I prepped for the 602, albeit not that long, but I did prep for it. I did the 602 most recently here, and now I'm kind of in that spot again where I'm like, okay, I still want to do my like casual gaming on the side, but I'm like back in. Like I want to I'm currently practicing Galaxy right now and currently practicing Galaxy 2 because I want to do another 602 and try to knock off another hour off the time or whatever. So like I'm back in.
You can
um
never truly leave.
you can't no, it's like playing RuneScape. You know? You play RuneScape and then you take a break for 2 years and then it's like, "Oh, I should play again." And then you're playing for another year and it's a rabbit hole. It just happens. Um, but yeah, I think outside of like 1 day runs, because I used to do events with Pants where we would spend a week speedrunning games that like or speedrunning games of like we've never played before, so it'd be like blind runs and whatnot. Um, those are most of the games that I've played that I can recall, um, and ran for an extensive amount of time outside of like the memes and whatnot.
So that's speedrun.com user page, I guess.
Yes, right.
Got it.
There might be some other things that I'm drawing a blank on, but as far as I know, those are like the main important ones that I've done.
I see. Um, is there any of those games that we maybe glossed over that's important that you think is important to like dive deeper into?
um, I would say probably so Galaxy is an interesting one to talk about more
Yeah.
because that was a game that I had watched a lot of people um do runs of, and it's such a different Mario game. And what I mean by that is I feel like speedrun, and I don't know if you agree with this, but I feel like speedruns are definitely categorized in like a couple of main big categories. And the biggest ones are like, is this speedrun skip based or is it more movement based? Right.
Yeah.
Um, and I feel like with Sunshine and Mario 64, those are definitely more movement based. There's skips involved, don't get me wrong, but if you're really going to get good at those games, you have to be like optimized and pristine with your movement.
Hmm.
Galaxy is a game that the movement is very important. That's for sure. And it looks like it's just long jumps most of the time. People call it long jump simulator. I get it. I do the same thing. But there's a couple more options, obviously, for movement. But that is more so a game where you want to hit your skips to be really good. I think your movement needs to be along with it, but it's definitely like I need to learn how to skip 3 planets to optimize and get faster, rather than like I need to make sure I can long jump this way properly.
Hmm.
So it's definitely a it's a Mario game that feels completely different because your focus is going on I'm going to learn how to skip this section rather than I'm going to optimize dive rollouts in Mario 64 or whatever else. Um, so that interested me for sure, and I was like, I want to see how this goes from that standpoint. Um, and it was pretty fun in general, but I saw not recently, but within the last few years that people started doing it with two player. I
Hmm.
don't know if you're familiar with the two-player run.
Yep.
Uh, okay, so for those that don't know, it's kind of a cheat code in a way because you
Yeah.
just get an extra backflip midair pretty much. It's ridiculous in the best way possible. And I've always been like, okay, I want to actually like do this, but I'm not going to rubber band two Wiimotes together or whatever. Like it's just or Velcro. It just seems ridiculous. Um, Fast forward to 3D All Stars. Uh, the Switch version is obviously faster in general, and you can run in Korean, which is faster text. But you have these little Joy Cons. I actually have one right next to me. You have these little Joy Cons. They're so small, and for someone who has a big hand, it's great to hold two of these at once. Um, so the technique that I use is I hold these two together like this with a rubber band. They're not currently banded, but and you play like this where the second player is on the bottom, the first player is up on top, and this is kind of how it works. So I'm currently in the process of like relearning the entire run with two player because there's certain things that were extremely difficult as a one player. Um, it's just kind of trivial now as a second player because of that extra jump height. So that's like my current project at the moment is to relearn the entirety of Galaxy One with two player stuff, um, and hopefully do the next 602 and not be playing for 24 hours, being a lot less.
So is the 60 just had your PB in it?
Yes. So the 602 overall PB, yes, that was a 24 hours and 9-minute time or 8 minutes. Um, and I also had PB'd in Galaxy One. I think the other three games were like solid, but not anywhere near PB. But Galaxy One I had PB'd by like 10 or 11 minutes, which is kind of ridiculous.
Hmm.
So there are some things in that run too that I was like, I should probably like learn how to get good at this star because I'm struggling with it. But then in the back of my head, I was like, no, because you're gonna have to unlearn everything and then learn the two-player stuff. So it's kind of like a back and forth of like, okay, I should practice this, but also no. um, but yeah, so that's kind of and the 602 is so heavy on Galaxy because you play 1 and 2 together is like if you're really good, it's still like 14 hours of Galaxy.
Hmm,
Um, which is it's a lot of Galaxy.
sure is.
Yeah, but I would say that's an important one to bring up now because that's like the current project of like relearning the game, 2 players and whatnot. Um, and obviously 64 is just that's the game that started it all. That's the first run I saw. Um, that was the first runs I did. I guess I think after practicing so much in that, the first ever speedrun I did was a 16-star run off stream before I had even like looked at Twitch basically. Um, it was like almost an hour. It's like really bad, but that's like I feel like that's like the starting point for everybody. Is like you do 16 star, it's about an hour, and then all of a sudden it comes flying down, and that's kind of what happened here as well. Um, yeah, that's those are some of the key ones to me right now. I would say, and obviously Choo Choo Charles because of its significance with GDQ for
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. Um, about the Galaxy or the 602 in general, like, so you're
Yeah.
9 minutes off a sub day.
Yes,
So
that sounds
that's the
so
goal,
terrible.
obviously.
Yeah, at the very least. I mean, if everything goes well, I'd like to try to cut a 23, go down to a 22. That'd be cool.
Hmm.
But yeah, sub day would be really nice. Not seeing that roll over to 24 is so good because I remember the last 10 minutes I saw it hit 24 hours and I was just like, damn it, man. It's been a whole day of games, dude.
Well, that's the beauty of the 602 for you. So,
Yeah, and you do get what 6 months in between to practice, so
but yeah, the obviously the two-player strats would save a lot of time from what I've
yeah.
seen. That is very broken.
Yeah, just being able to, do a backflip into a backflip midair is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, Galaxy's always looked interesting, although I don't know, like you see games that are good casually, but the speedrun looks good. Like Galaxy's like some of my fondest memories in gaming casually, but the speedrun just kind of looks it's cool, but yeah, it's not very movement heavy in comparison.
Right.
So it's like it's it it doesn't look like a terrible speedrun. It just doesn't look, on par with the others.
Right. And again, I think that's where the difference comes into play of like I'm more attracted to like skip based runs or I'm more attracted to like movement based. Like both runs need both things involved, but if I'm looking at Ocarina of Time, that's a very skip heavy run of like doing all these ridiculous tricks to make sure you can, wrong warp or get in Shadow Temple early or whatever else you need to do. And then I look at Mario 64 and it's like you just bang your head against a wall until you're good at this movement. like, um, and so I think Galaxy falls more into that skip heavy one. So if you're not like super interested in that, because the movement, again, there's more to it when you learn about it, but on a surface level, you are just long jumping.
Yeah, it's a lot more linear.
Yes, and I like more open world as well too, but yeah, it's definitely linear, but it's also one of those things where it's like when you get good at it and you do hit those skips and tricks, you're like, "Oh, that was pretty fun. I should learn a more advanced way to hit that skip or something like that." Um, and also it's like I it depends on how long you want to run a game too, right? Galaxy is gonna be like 2.5 hours if you're like solid at the game for any percent. But if you're doing 120, that could you very easily could be running the game for 6+ hours. My time right now is above a 6 hour. I know world record's like 5:10 or something like that, 5:06. I don't know exactly what it is. But it's like a low 5 hour time. But it just also depends on how long you want to run a game. Um, For me, I don't mind long runs. I don't know how you feel.
I've always only done short ones, so I can't
Okay,
speak on the longer side of things.
that's fair. So, what is the longest run you've done?
God. Well, probably my
Or
120 run, but it was more like, again, a casual play, if anything.
right, right.
So does it really count? Um, yeah. Um, so I guess if we're talking about something real that I like was, I don't know, I actually played the game in a impactful way, like I knew what I was doing. Um, there's a fun category of Mario 1 in the category extensions where you do warpless 11 times in a row.
Oh, yeah,
So
that'll do
that's
it.
like 3.5 hours.
Okay.
So I guess that.
Yeah, that 100% counts. That 100% counts. Okay.
uh
3.5 hours. Okay, yeah, you could do a Galaxy 80% run.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I love Galaxy,
Yeah.
so I haven't played in a while. I need to replay them, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I've considered it just because, I usually prefer games I have that are like impactful in my life, I guess, or
Mhm.
just ones I remember fondly playing. So
Gotcha.
it's on the maybe list
That's
for
fair.
sure. I can't see myself doing a 602 or anything. Like, I don't think I'd ever touch Sunshine as a speedrun personally,
And
but
that's a-okay.
yeah.
I wish I hadn't, but also, you do a run of Sunshine, you get through it. If you PB, you're like, "Ah, that was awesome." And then you think back and you're like, "Man, that could have been so much better." Like every PB that you do, right?
I don't know
But
if I've
then
ever been satisfied with a PB unless it's like tied the limit or something.
right? Yeah, it always comes back to that whether it's sooner or later. Like my most proud run that I've done in my opinion has been 70 star for Mario 64. I had played within like a minute and some change of my summa best. It was like I think I got a 51 for sure. And my summa best was a 50. Um, and I was like, dude, that's one of the best runs I've ever done. Like, screw the any world record I've had before. Like that felt like one of the most consistent I could have played. That was awesome. And I go back and I'm watching it over, and then I'm like, man, I died in TTM here. That's a free time save. I could have gotten these red. Dude, this sucks. And I'm like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, after a couple months, I'm like, I kind of want to run this again because that run like, we could do so much better.
Yep, that's the speedrun cycle. It never ends.
It really doesn't. Like, there's been world records I've seen where people have been like, that's it. Like the category's dead. It's over. And then months go by and somebody beats it, and they're like, hey, that could have been so much better.
Yeah,
It just happens.
nothing's truly dead unless it ties the tasks or whatever.
Yes, if you have tied tasks at that point, it's probably dead. Well, because what Mario Brothers, any percent is like a handful of frames off of tasks, right, or
22
something like that?
frames, yeah.
Yeah. So, and I'm sure people are like, you know what? That's not good enough. We need to get closer.
Yeah, 8.4 has 22 frames in it. That's a lot of frames.
Yep. There you go. See, even 22 frames is still too far off, which is it for my brain. I'm like, dude, that's ridiculous. But I also don't play a shorter category like that where the frames are that important.
Mhm. I was the first person to tie the tasks in the minus world category,
Really?
which is so important, of course. Wow,
Oh,
very
but you
good.
tied the task though. That's
No, yeah,
huge.
because it's like not
Listen, you don't have to
complicated,
go into
but
details. It's fine. You tied the task. It's
oh
huge.
my god, yeah, it's crazy. Only
Yeah.
like 20 people have done it.
You, you tied the task. That's huge.
True. That's how it goes sometimes with Mario 1 and just how it is, but
I have looked at runs for Mario, and I do kind of want to try it out at some point.
I
Um,
mean, Mario 1 specifically is actually, I think, a really good. It's like Mario 64, just like, 2D and stuff. It's like super easy to get into and just have fun with, and it's not until you really like look into it where you can be like, okay, let's ruin my life here. Here we
yeah,
go. So,
Yeah, it definitely looks like it has that same entry level. Everyone can run it. On a more serious note, it's going to be hard to get in like the top whatever with because it's just that much of a skill gap and skill ceiling involved.
Hmm.
Um, the only experience I have with running it as well was one time at oh man, I can't remember the GDQ, but it was a long time ago where they had those like World 9 challenges. I think they had them at this recent GDQ as well. Um,
The Magfest
or yeah, it was
things,
a
yeah.
yeah, they brought in like CRTs and were like, "Hey, here's like a list of games with challenges and you just play it." Like one of them was like Mario 64, you have to do a certain star without jumping or something like that. Um and one of them
Oh
was the
yeah,
original
okay.
Mario Bros. It was World 1-1 and you could only like you could not stop. You had to constantly run and hold right. So
Hmm.
full speed. And if you bumped into anything, you just die. And I remember sitting there for like a half hour just grinding it and then finally getting it. And I was like, dude, that was so fun. I kind of want to do
Hmm.
that again. So
Yeah.
I haven't done it, but it looks really good. From everything I've seen.
Yeah, and the best part is those things have horrible input lag, so you'd feel a lot more in control if you played the real thing.
Oh, thank God, because I was like, dude, I'm so bad at this. I should just stick to 3D Mario.
No, the input lag is atrocious on those things. I don't know. It's real bad. But yeah,
Gotcha.
I remember finding that the first time and just getting it first try and then leaving. Actually,
Uh,
no. AGDQ 2020, I specifically remember there were like these two people trying to do it, and I think they were pretty drunk because of course. So they were
yeah.
trying and just couldn't beat it. It was really funny, and I was like, "Here, let me try. That looks fun." Like being funny about it, and then I get it first try and leave, and they're just like, "What the fuck?" It's funny.
Oh, it's so funny, especially when there's people that are just drunk and they're like, "What? Dude, this guy's whoa."
Yeah,
Just like, yeah, just a subtle flex. It's whatever, you know. I'll go ahead and move on with my day.
just first try, drop the controller, leaves, doesn't elaborate. Yeah,
It's a good time, man. It's a good
just
time.
classic. That reminds me actually. Speaking of drunk people and speedrunning, you were you were in
Oh,
one of the no, you were in one of those Pooh does the speedrun sessions at bars. I
yes,
recall you
yes,
being in one.
yes. Um, so speedrun sessions, super fun time, very laid back. It's basically like 4 or 5 runs that you do, um, and it's in front of a live audience at a bar, usually like a gaming themed bar. The one we did was in San Jose. It was in where uh, I lived for like a decent amount of time. So I was like, yeah, I'm super down to do this. And we had an awesome cast of people. Um, I had ran Mario 64 randomizer at the time. And basically how it worked was we got in a couple days before, we chatted with Pooh exactly like how we want to do certain things and stuff like that. Um, and basically just showing off some really cool things that you felt like you can show off at a decently high level or whatever. At the end of the day, it's way more like lax, way more casual. It's, you're getting up there, you're getting handed drinks. Obviously, if you're part of the staff that's working it and Red Bull is there, Red Bull likes to say, "Hey, you guys look like you could use a drink." so, so
Yeah.
it's definitely one of those things where it was like, I remember getting there and they're like, "Yeah, you can just ask for drinks at the bar whenever you want." I was like, "Okay, cool. I'll just have a couple and get to like a nice little buzz and then just play." I don't drink outside of like special events like that and like a hard Halloween party that we host here, right? Outside of that, I'm pretty much just chilling. So I was like, "This is a special time with good people. I'll just have a couple drinks and do whatever." And I remember having a couple drinks and like, people are going up, doing their run, coming off, and then it's my turn to go up. And I was like, cool, let's do this. And I sat down, I already a few drinks in, and I'm like, all right, I'm feeling great. We're going to play some randomizer in front of all these people, have a good time, do some commentary. And a staff member from Red Bull comes up with this big tray of drinks and was like, hey, you're starting your run. Here you go. Have some drinks, and your couch will have drinks too. And I was like, oh, God, okay,
Uh-oh.
sure. So I grabbed a drink, finished it. At this point, I'm like, I'm feeling pretty good. And I'm like, all
Yeah.
right, do the run. we managed to do the run really well, and I was like, "Thank God, cool." And then I got asked to couch the next portion of it because it was a plan that I had with Xwater. Xwater was doing the hosting for it a lot of the times, just on the mic doing the things, and we had talked about it. I was like, "Hey, I've got my EverDrive here, and I have a ROM hack on it for Mario 64. What if you followed up with that ROM hack?" And Pooh was listening, like, "Okay, what is this ROM hack?" And I was like, "It's Captain Falcon in Mario 64.
Yeah.
It's just that." And they're like, "Huh?" I was like, "Just watch." And so I put it on, and they're like, "Okay, like that's cool. It's funny. You've got voice lines, and you can run around." And then they saw me Falcon punch a toad and blow it up, and they're like, "That's in. We're doing it." So we organized the whole plan so that way, he can go ahead and play and just Falcon punch through real quick. It would take like 10 minutes. And that was really fun. The crowd enjoyed that. But I also couched for that run. And like I said before, I didn't know this, but every time a run starts, the entire couch and the runner gets drinks. And we're like, "Hi, I just finished a run. This is a 10-minute. Okay, cool, great." And I had another one, and then I couched another run, and they're like, "Hey, here's some more drinks." I was like, "Oh God, dude, dude." But luckily, nobody got sick. Everyone was great, but it was a very fun night, um, and everyone got home safely, which is good. That's
That
good.
is the important part, yes.
Yes, but we got juiced up from Red Bull a decent amount, and I was like, "God damn!"
Yeah.
It was so fun though. It was such a good event. And I know he does those all across the country, but if he does one in your area, and I guess for anyone listening and watching, I'd recommend it. It's a good time. Usually at a gaming bar. People are just vibing, and when the runners go up, they do their thing, and then they come back and they're just kind of vibing with the crowd for a while and doing your thing. So if there's someone coming that you want to watch and stuff, I'd recommend it.
Yeah. I've
Good
been to
time.
2, so
You have been
maybe.
to 2. Okay, so you know the kind of the formula of how it works.
Yeah, the first one, it was 2022 when he did it on day 0 of GDQ, just like in downtown Minneapolis.
Oh,
So it
okay.
it was right there. It was like a 10-minute drive at the time, so just quick Uber over. It was nice.
Sweet.
That event was really cool because there was free pizza and drinks. Yeah,
Ooh.
they treated the crowd that one. That was a nice one.
That's awesome for the crowd to get that too. That's really cool. I think they only did like the crowd. Now I could be misremembering, but I think the crowd gets like a band and they get like one or two drinks,
Mm.
and then after that they have to pay. I think.
I
But I
think
don't
it's different
remember
bar
if
to
it's big enough.
bar because
Yeah.
the next one I went to was in Chicago, and I I live in that state, but I like 4 hours away. But I had a family member that was driving up there to go to a concert anyway, so it just worked out very well. But yeah, nothing free there, unfortunately. But
Damn.
that place was super nice. But yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
event too. Like the events are really good. So
Yeah, they're fun, they're short, they're like 1 day, but if you're just looking for, just going up on stage, having a good time, and then just like if you're going from a viewer perspective, just having a few drinks, getting some food, and just kind of kicking back and watching the show, and then interacting with the runners, like it's a good event for that, honestly, and it's fun, and I hope it keeps going. Like it's a nice, like less sh- less tight I don't know, I don't want to say strung up. That's not the right word, but like it's more relaxed. It's
yeah.
just people are showing up. It almost feels like you're just hanging out and there's just a stage with a microphone and that's it, right? It's a
Hmm.
good time.
Yeah. I, I keep like nudging, hey, I want to be in one of these. Win,
Yeah.
as you got to do.
Yeah,
So
yeah, of course. That makes
so
sense.
hopefully someday because I mean, yeah, the events are cool, but I can't really go to them any other way unless I know the city I live near. He said specifically never going there, and totally fair.
Awesome.
Bad place to be. Bad place to go. So
Yeah, that'll play a role for sure. Um,
so it's a
I
little
hope you I
harder
hope
to
you
get
get
to them.
in. Yeah, no, that's fair. I do hope you can get into one because I've only done one, but it was super fun.
Hmm.
I will say I've also done some Coliseum events, if you
Oh
know
yeah,
those
of
ones.
course.
Yeah. Kaizo Coliseum and Speedrun Coliseum,
Oh, you've done
I did
both.
last year. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I did both last year, and those were my first times really knowing about the Coliseum events. And I gotta say, that was also a very fun time
Yeah, I loved
because
watching that on Twitch. So.
oh yeah, yeah, it's so good because it definitely feels like couch co-op kind of gameplay.
Mhm.
Like you're speed running, but you're just like you got people on the couch and you're just kind of vibing. Like the old GDQs of like when I started watching them, where everyone's in like a basement somewhere doing their thing. Like it has a similar vibe to that where everyone just kind of checks in, does their thing, and then they just usually have a place that offers a lot of space to house everybody. So the place I went to was the same location for the 2 Colosseums, and they had, like, a swimming pool and, like, a basketball court. So, if I wasn't involved with something or watching something inside, I was probably shooting around with, like, Andy and Panga and others on, like, the basketball court or, like, swimming with DGR and whatnot, and, like, just the vibe of that for, like, a weekend was really, really fun. Another one of those kind of events that was, like, casual. We're there to raise money for charity, um, and we're there to kind of make goofs of ourselves because it was like we're gonna do a run of something that is that you're very good at, right? Like let's just say, Bird, you're gonna do Mario 64 70 star, and you're like, okay, cool, I'll go ahead and be really good at that. But then you start thinking and brainstorming together, like, okay, how can we raise money for charity for this? And then you start self sabotaging yourself because you just say, hey, what if it's like $50 and I'll put on oven mitts for a star? And if you've ever worn oven mitts while trying to use a controller, it's awful.
Yeah.
You can't do anything. So, but it becomes really fun in that sense, and then you also get to do like some other not super speedrun related, but like high skill level related content there as well. Like we did the Switch Sports golfing, and that was so fun because we dressed up for it too. Panga had like golf clubs, or gloves, and like a hat. We all had our hats on and stuff. And I remember hitting a shot and dunking the ball right into the cup for like a birdie or something. It was like a slam dunk, and everyone popped off. Like it was just, events like that happen at these sort of speedrunning events. And it's so much fun, and you just get to know more of the community that way. Everyone is like this when it comes to those events. It's really
Mhm.
nice. It's all stress free. We're just there to have a good time. So Speedrun and Kaiser Coliseum were both really, really fun. Um, I if those events are coming back, I know I won't be doing Kaizo because I will be out of town during any time that they do it. But I'm potentially might be going to speedrun if that's a thing.
Mhm.
I can't say anything official, but like if that is a thing, there's a decent chance that you might see me there.
Mhm. Yeah. That's another thing I nudge too. I'm like, hey.
But you have to though, you know?
Exactly, right? Like that's the whole, what do they call it? Marketing yourself, the whole getting your face out there kind of thing. You got to just annoy people until they finally buckle down and say, "Okay, fine, shut up. Here you
Yeah,
go."
but I mean that's just how it works, right? It's like you have no chance if you don't say anything unless they are the ones to be like, "Hey, I want you to do this." But if it's something you really like whether it's like trying to get a sponsorship for something or trying to join an event, like why not throw your name out there and just be like, "Hey, I do this if you want. It's okay if not, but like
Mhm.
I'll be here, you know?"
Yeah. And I really love the smaller events too. Like they have their own thing. Like there's more of a chance of more unique content. Like the larger an event gets, the more things have to be kind of scheduled and streamlined. But these smaller events have a opportunity to be random, do whatever, have more like in the moment type things. And I don't know.
Yeah.
There's something unique to that makes it worth the watch.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Been going to GDQ since 2016 and then been doing a few of these side events. Like I love both of them
Hmm.
because they offer different things. GDQ, I mean, I'm a massive extrovert. I'll go ahead and hang out with everybody. So I'm constantly from like sunrise to sunset and beyond, I guess, because GDQ. Um, I'm everywhere trying to hit everybody because I just like being around the people and stuff. And I won't see you for another 6 months probably, so I'm gonna hang, things like that. So Fu and I will go together to the events, and I will only see her like if she's available sometimes, like she'll maybe come to hang out. Otherwise, I see her for bed. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like
Well, I mean,
that's
she's
how
hosting, so I mean,
yeah,
that's fair.
she's super busy with hosting and whatnot. And then sometimes she's free and she's like, "Hey, like I actually have like a couple hours. What are you doing?" And I'll be like, "I'm out disc golfing with like 20 people at the moment. Maybe I'll see you. I don't know." Like, but we
Classic.
also have that understanding of like, you know, we're probably just not going to see each other, and we're going to go venture off with our own groups, and it's like super great, which we'll reconvene later. And sometimes we go up to the same, like, if there's a party or event going on, we'll go up together. But like most of the time, we're just off doing our own things and reconvening later. Um, and that's what GDQ can offer, right? Because there's so many people, you can schedule. Like you do have to schedule a lot of things, but
There's always
you
something to
kind of
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's always something to do. You're never gonna be downtime just twiddling your thumbs, not knowing
Mhm.
what to do. Whereas the smaller events, they're definitely more personal, and it's a lot of impromptu things that show up of like, "Hey, you guys wanna go walk down to this store and check out this thing?" And then people are like, "Yeah, yeah, I can do that. That sounds good." Or like, "Hey, you guys wanna shoot around? Sure, let's go shoot around in the backyard." It's like that kind of stuff just kinda happens. But it's definitely more personal. You get to like meet people and have more personal contacts and whatnot. Like the last Kaizo Coliseum I did was super fun because I got close with DGR, good old DGR Dave. He's fantastic, but we got closer at that event. CJ Ya as well. CJ's a phenomenal person. I love hanging with him. Um, and then I got to actually talk and hang with Small Ant for a little bit during it. And Small Ant's a good person as well too. But it's like those kind of things that like without an event like that, I'd probably just like maybe frequent your chat every so often, but kind of we do our own things. At an event like that, you just get to talk to people and make a connection of some sort and kind of have that newfound appreciation for each other and whatnot. It's
Mhm.
it's it's a good time.
Yeah, it's definitely harder to do that at something like GDQ because you're more focused on just trying to hit everyone instead of being able to sit down and be more one-on-one with certain people, I guess. Not
Yeah,
impossible, but
yeah.
less likely
Right.
just
And
because.
and I feel like GDQ, you'll definitely have like your group of people that you probably gravitate towards, but with 2,500 registered people, like you're gonna bounce around everywhere if
Yeah.
if you're super extroverted and whatnot. Um, kind of do your thing. So that's kind of what happens with me. But both events are great. They're super
Mhm.
fun. If you're on the fence at home, you should try to go to one of them because they're great. Obviously, you can't go to the Coliseum thing because they do with the invite thing, and that would be weird if you just showed up. So don't do that. but but GDQ and like speedrun sessions and stuff, and Pace is one of them. Like Pace is a new thing that has come
Mhm.
up recently. I haven't been to a Pace. Have you gone to Pace?
I've been to all of them post-pandemic, so yeah.
Okay, how do you feel about Pace? Because I haven't been to a single
Ooh.
one yet.
It is really it's kind of like older GDQs, which you probably have more experience with because I didn't start going till 2018. So it's like, there's only like a couple hundred people there as opposed to a couple thousand people there.
Yeah.
So it's a little smaller, so you have a better chance at, you know, uh talking with the same amount of people more often while still being able to hit a bunch of people. And the
Mm.
content's unique where like, their main thing is tournament style stuff. So you could like sit down and watch Mario 64 for 8 hours if you really want to,
Okay.
but they'll have like their speed runs that are just like normal showcases when they're not doing their tournaments. And now they have it where their like little practice room area is in the same room as the stage. So on one side of this
Oh.
giant room are all like the TVs and monitors set up and where people hang out. And then on the other side of the room, and you can always see it, is like the chairs, the two projectors, the stage now. So it's all
Mhm.
in one space. So you can just see everything from pretty much the same area. So I love the event. I
Mhm.
had no issues with the 4 months. The only problem is the location is ass. Laurel,
Okay, that's fair.
Maryland is one of the places of all time, and it's a bit hard to get from the hotel to the venue sometimes. Um,
Okay.
but other than that, like Uh, the parties that would happen at the hotel that most people stay at, the hotel's not very good, but they don't get on your case about noise, so the parties go kind of hard.
Okay, that's
So,
pretty cool.
uh, yeah, that's my pace information I can give.
Okay. I mean, that sounds pretty fun to me. I forgot that the hotel is detached from the event, but it sounds like all of the attendees try to go to the same hotel. Is it like advertised by Pace? Like this is the
Uh,
hotel we have something with,
they
or
usually book something with the hotel. They changed to
okay.
another one, because the hotel it used to be at, uh, it's not great for or good,
Fair. Hmm.
but so they moved to another one, but the other one's a lot nicer hotel. The only problem is someone literally got a noise complaint for eating Pringles. So parties do not happen there.
Oh, that's stinky.
So yeah, so you have to pick your poison. You either go to this hotel for the like cleaner environment, but you can't really do much there, or you go to the
Hmm.
other place, which is a little not so nice, but they don't really care what the hell you do. So,
Okay.
but the hotels
Interesting.
are like a 5 minute walk in between each other. It's whatever.
Okay, that's not bad.
But yes, Laurel, Maryland. Definitely don't walk outside alone at night.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Maybe one day I'll drive to that event because I'm in Virginia, so it's not too
Oh
far off.
yeah,
Probably
no.
like a 3 hour drive or something.
Yeah, I'd super recommend it then. That's not a problem. Especially if you can
Okay.
just bring your car then. Yeah, that eliminates a lot of the problems. Well,
Yeah.
although the only problem with that is there's no direct road from the venue to the hotel either. You have to like drive a mile out of the way and then a mile back because of how Laurel is
Ugh.
laid out. It's weird.
Okay, let's get it out of there and move it somewhere else.
Yeah. Well, they get a deal because it's like some VG boot camp thing, I think. They have some deal with
Okay.
them, so they get the venues. And I mean, it's a pretty
Okay.
big Smash venue too. So
That makes sense. I
it's
guess.
whatever. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
whatever. But I mean, the pace event itself, fantastic. The
Okay.
things around it,
Not so much.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it to me, it's worth it. I've been there 4 times, but yeah, it's a little stinky compared to like GDQ where everything's a little easier. But oh
Yeah,
well,
that's fair.
you got to make some sacrifices sometimes, I guess.
Yeah, I'll try to pop my head in there sometime.
Yeah, it's worth it. I mean, you'll know most of the people there anyway, so it's fine.
Probably. There's a decent chance. So we'll see.
Yeah, a lot of people from the big group at GDQ go to Pace, so I mean,
Cool.
yeah,
Then
pretty
yeah,
much the
I'd
same thing.
fit right in then, I guess. Awesome.
Yeah, so there's my Pace information. So
I appreciate that. Thank you. Let me jot this down real quick.
yeah, there you go. But yeah, another event where I'd say if anyone's interested in the area, I mean, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's definitely more tight knit. Comparison to GDQ, you won't be as overwhelmed. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's fun to sit down and watch the tournaments go on because GDQ usually doesn't have tournaments, so you get some unique content thrown in there as well.
Yeah, yeah. If you want a tournament at all at GDQ, you kind of have to organize it and use their room on the sides, which like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like even then it tournaments aren't often with speedrunning. They're more
Yeah.
related with like either fighting games or like Crokinole in the board game room or something like that, right? Which those are also extremely fun, but like Ace sounds like the place where if you want to watch like competitive tournament speedrunning, which is
Mm-hmm.
could be kind of hard to grasp the just what that is in its entirety unless you watch it for the first time. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a good event for that from what I can tell, and they do a really good job about like making sure this is a tournament and seeing high level skill play and like group stage stuff and qualifying for it, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's really fleshed out if you're on that more competitive side of it, which I can certainly be involved with. Maybe not competing in, but just watching.
Yep. That's fun. Yeah, they focus on their so the live time attack, which is the do attempts for a certain amount of hours, and then your best time is whatever.
Yeah.
So, which is just kept getting increasingly huge in popularity for the past like few years.
Yeah.
I think that
I
big
think
like Mario 64 121 from like 4 years ago was the first like really big like this is what it could be, and now yeah, people are just running with it.
and I think that's like a good way to do it too. Is
Hmm.
is like instead of having like a bracket, these two guys will race and then the winner moves on, like having a 5 hour limit of like X amount of runs and stuff, like I think that could be the way it continues to grow as well.
Hmm.
And that way you can just strategize like, okay, we have like 30 minutes left on the 16-star run, and I think this is an okay run, but I'll reset to try to get better. Like there's
Hmm.
some strategy that comes into that, which is really interesting. So
Yeah. And it's good for the viewer because there's usually always something to watch because there's like multiple people doing runs. So at least one of them
yeah.
is probably somewhere worth watching, I guess.
How many would you say are in like a group for that? Like six, eight
It's
people,
usually
something like that?
7.
Seven? Okay.
Yeah. So they'll have 7 people, and like the competitors can like leave and take a break and come back whenever they want, which is nice. I mean, you're not like forced to play forever, but yeah,
Yeah.
like there's usually always something to watch, which is what's really cool about it. So, and they're all
That's
like
awesome.
lined up in a row, and you can just sit and watch them do their thing, and then they have their projectors like GDQ does. It's nice.
That's cool. Sweet. Yeah. I'll have to make an appearance sometime, especially since it's so close.
Hmm. And then, um, I know someone that has this really cool technology with the Mario 1. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like all people race Mario 1, and then this technology takes all that console information, feeds it into this thing, and then it displays it with like a live leaderboard and all the Marios. You
Oh
can see them on the
yeah.
same screen.
I
Yeah.
have seen that. That's ridiculous. It's so
Oh,
cool.
oh, it's insane. But yeah, Pace has been like at least once a year we have a day of like Mario 1 action with that technology with the live format. So that's also cool. That's the
I love
simultaneous
that.
time attack is what they call that. So
Gotcha. I love that idea. That is so cool.
yeah, I'm excited to see what comes of that because it's still in super early stages of what it could be, and it's hard to
Yeah.
like get the word and the funding out there, I guess. But
Yeah.
the potential that has to like change competitive speedrunning is ridiculous.
Oh yeah. No, that's definitely technology you want to continue to develop and see like where it goes and how you can kind of like broadcast for the casual viewer, because again you have to just keep that in mind when you're doing this stuff, and having the display of all the gamers at once on the like silhouettes of them and how they're currently running and stuff. I think that's like a beautiful way to do it where everyone could be like, oh my god, they're like racing neck and neck, oh my god,
Hmm.
it's super cool, super cool.
Yeah, we had a warpless race last time, and that's like 19 minutes. So keep that in mind. And me and someone else uh got first place. Like it said he was winning, and then when we grabbed the axe at the end of 8-4, it said I won. And we were like, oh, what happened? We tied to the frame. And you can
Wow.
see that live. You like go to the technology gives you accurate frame data, so you put that in, and it's like, oh, yep, that's the same number. Well,
That's that's wild.
can't
That's
really
so
get
funny.
that anywhere else. So
Yeah, yeah. That's incredible. I'm so excited to see where that goes.
yeah,
That's
I mean,
cool.
so yeah, for tournament stuff, pace is where it's at. I can give it a nice hearty recommendation because
Sweet.
that kind of content is really fun to watch live. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That's awesome. I love that. I'll
yeah,
I'll, I'll make an appearance sometime. I don't know if it'll be the next one, but I will go to one eventually. It'll
I-
be fun.
I'm glad I could convince you. So
I had a few people trying, but and I was kind of like, okay, like it seems cool, but I do like the vibes.
yeah, the vibes are definitely good because again, it's like old, people related to old GDQ when it was a little smaller. So if you like
Yeah,
that, you'll like this. It's kind of the same thing.
yeah. I'll try to throw it in there on my list.
Yep. Just another speedrun event to add. Ugh.
Oh God, what
Oh,
are we gonna do?
it's impossible to escape. They're just all too good.
They are, and again, I've been invested in running since what 2013 or so.
Hmm.
So I got to go to mall
Yeah.
eventually.
Actually, how many GDQs have you been to?
Um, my first one was AGDQ 2016, and I have not missed one since.
Oh my god. Okay.
Excluding the ones that were online for like COVID reasons.
Well, yeah.
Um, but I still like even then I still bought the badge.
Oh,
So I
okay.
have all my badges and they're literally hanging up right there. I could grab them, but um from 2016 till now I've hit every single one.
Damn. All right.
It was one of those things where I went to AGDQ 2016. It was my second event I ever did because the first one I did was TwitchCon 2015, which was the first TwitchCon event. Um, and that was it was local for me. It was in San Francisco, so it was like a 20-minute drive to get to the event. Um, so I was like, yeah, I'll go to that. Why not? And I was, I'm a very like I said before, extroverted person, pretty confident with talking with people. But with that being my first event back in 2015, I was terrified to talk to anybody. I was like, I've watched you, and that's it. How do I say hi? Oh God. But then that actually helped a lot with 2016's AGDQ because then I just kind of felt like, oh, I just have a conversation with people. It's fine. Guess
Yeah.
what? Like speedrunners and streamers, whatever, they're just people as well. It's crazy. Um, but yeah, I went to AGQ 2016 and I absolutely loved it. It was incredible. And I was like, I'm never going to miss one of these again unless there's some emergency. So from that point on, I went to every single one. And every time I'm like, that was a damn good GDQ. Like some are
Yeah.
better than others, but like,
Yeah.
especially the last like two have been like, it felt like we're back, you know?
We are so back. Yeah.
We are so back, dude.
Oh, that was the motto of the last one. It really the cap
Yeah.
was hit, like, oh, everything was great.
Yeah, it was awesome. It's good to see it's in a healthy place again because people were getting a little nervous with the low registration right after COVID, which makes sense. There's a lot of strict restrictions
Mhm.
for GDQ, which were for health and safety concerns, and also people were like, "Hey, COVID just happened. I don't feel like going anywhere with people," which makes
Yeah.
sense. But man, these last two have felt like the old GDQs with like you said, registration cap getting hit, board game room being full, less restrictions in general. Like we're so back. That's what it
Yeah.
is. We're so back.
Yeah, although maybe some restrictions should be in place again because COVID did kind of spread quite a
Yeah,
bit last time, but
yeah. It did knock out some homies. Everyone around me was dying, but I survived.
yeah,
I
I think
didn't
I
get it.
survived. So,
Sweet. I'm proud you did.
finally was once lucky in my life.
Yeah, a lot of people turned up with COVID, unfortunately, but
Yeah.
it's definitely like a do your own diligence thing where it's like, if you're in a big group of people, why not bring a mask and wear it? Like it's not
Yeah.
a big deal. So just do that. So yeah.
Yeah, that's how it goes. I mean, that's just the post-pandemic world, unfortunately.
Yep. It's like just be smart.
Yep. But yeah, overall, super good. I think this last
Yeah.
GDQ was like the best one I've been to because I actually did stuff.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. And
my
that's the
first few
thing
I was
too.
super in my comfort zone, and now I'm trying to branch out.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that like, especially like when you first start, um, it if you're not like super comfortable with just talking to random strangers and being like, "Hey, I'm this person. I'm gonna try to meet you." Like, it can be very hard to try to break in because it could feel like there's clicks and whatnot too, in
Oh
terms of
yeah,
like, "Hey, this group of people's playing board games. I don't want to be involved because it's their thing and stuff." But as you get better at being able to talk to like people and like breaking the ice and stuff, you start to learn that it's more so like, yeah, this is a good group of people, but also they're very welcoming in terms of like, "Oh, you wanna play this board game? Yeah, hop in, we'll teach you how to play," and stuff. So it just comes with, like, some practice and whatnot, and I think you get the most out of GDQ when you're able to go out and kind of, like, flourish with people and whatnot.
mm-hmm. Yeah. No one, or at least no one I know, is gonna turn you away or anything. So you just gotta.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I know, and a lot of people there are gonna be pretty similar. A lot of them are gonna be more introverted or have some anxieties. So that's
Oh, for sure. I
not
mean,
alone. That's for sure.
not definitely not alone. Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, "Hey, you're going to an event as a gamer for speedrunning, and the event is for gamers that speedrun. So guess what? There's gonna be other people just like you that go through the same thing. Some people are gonna be more like me in terms of like, I'm just gonna talk to everybody and just see what's going on. There's gonna be other people that are like, I don't really feel like conversing too much. I kind of just want to vibe. And you can get along through that way as well. And all of a sudden you guys are like good friends. Like there's a lot of good friendships you make from there either way, right? You
Mhm.
don't have to be super talkative, super social. You just bond over your hobbies, which is at that event. People are everybody knows at that event you're there because speedrunning. So
Mhm.
that's a great hobby to talk about.
Yeah. Definitely plenty to converse about that topic as
Yes.
I'm on episode 75 of this, but
Yeah, and going strong too.
yeah,
On the road to 650, you know?
on the road, almost there.
Almost there.
Just a few more years.
Yep. Hey, I'll be tapped in, don't worry.
Fair enough. But yeah, so since you've been going to GDQ for so long, do you have any cool moments that stick out in your head?
Oh boy.
Yeah,
I'll just pick a few because we could be here all day.
fair enough.
um, Definitely the first time I was ever on stage was at AGDQ 2016. So that whole GDQ sticks out in my head. The first time I was on stage was that one. I was on couch for Christmas run of Galaxy. Um, and at the time, I had barely ran Galaxy, so I didn't know much. And I told him that, but he said, "You know what? I still want you on the couch." And I have this. I don't know if you've ever seen his Chris Rip emote, which was like the giant fat Yoshi head and stuff. It was very weird. He gave a cardboard cutout to me, and he was like, "Anytime I die, you just hold this up for the camera." So I did that like only twice because he only died a couple times. But I was just like, "Oh, Chris Rip, woohoo, yeah!" But I was like so nervous, of course, because it was first time on a stage for a thing like that. Um, but that moment there was really cool because I was like, "Wow, this is just really fun." Um, and also, I was thinking like, okay, like my sleep schedule's bad. I talk with friends all the time through the night. I go to bed at like 5 a.m. Right, so like I hope that's not going to be a problem at GDQ. Turns out that everyone else does the same thing. And at the time, at the hotel we were at for 2016 through 2018, I think it was, in Virginia in Herndon, it was you get free breakfast at 6 a.m. And lo and behold, you don't go to bed and wake up for breakfast. You stay up for breakfast and then you go to bed. So you had all these gamers coming down with their badges and stuff, and they would just be like, "Hey man, how's it going? Here, let's get some breakfast." And you get breakfast, you chat, and then afterwards it's okay. I'm gonna go to bed now. I'll see you in the afternoon. And just to have like a whole room full of people just being like, "All right, cool, like breakfast, cool. We're hitting 7 a.m. Great. I'm gonna go to bed now." Like it was so fun. Um, so the entirety of 2016 sticks out to me because that was the first one. It really left a lasting impression. It's the first time I got to meet all like speedrunning friends that have made into like just I would say just normal life friends. I would definitely say Choo Choo Charles as well was a big moment for me. So I'll definitely throw that in as like, hey, this is a huge thing in my GDQ experience. Um, Outside of that, like I think every GDQ has something awesome to offer that will leave a lasting impression. Um, so it's hard to just single out certain things. I will say I like escape rooms a lot. I'm a big escape room guy. And we did an escape room at a GDQ. I think it was like SGDQ. I would guess like 2019 or 2020, something like that. Oh no, it would have to be 2019 because 2020 was pandemic stuff. So probably 2019. We did an escape room, and it was a video game themed escape room.
Ooh.
And I was like, "Oh, this would be great." It's like an '80s living room with, like, a Domino's pizza box sitting there and, like, a couple of video game like, a Triforce and, like, a Mario question block that you have to, like, try to solve on how to open it, like, things like that. And I did this room with a few people, one of which, is Jakku, which, if you don't know, Jakku is, one of the big minds behind crowd control. So
Mhm.
shouts to crowd control and all that good stuff. Um, but I think he speed runs or did runs or knew an absurd amount of info on the Noid.
Mhm.
Um, so for those that don't know, Noid was associated with Domino's and whatnot. It was like avoid the Noid in their commercials, and there was like a game about it as well and stuff. And in this escape room, there was supposed to be a hard puzzle that you eventually get the code for avoid the Noid. And you put that in, and that is like one of the last puzzles. Well, Jakku, being a speedrunner and knowing about it, kind of just was like, "Hey, I wonder if it's this," and did the things, and we skipped like 4 puzzles because he was just like, "Oh, by the way, I just know this." So we like skipped half the room. We got like the world record for it because we just knew a bunch of stuff. And the guys inside were like, "How did you know that?" And he's like, "Oh, I speedrun it," or something like that. And they're like, yep, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, well, cool. You guys just smashed the world record by like 10 minutes or whatever it was."
Hmm.
And it was so funny to just like skip through puzzles because Jakku just knew the game. Um, so that was a really fun moment. And also, anytime we go to Korean barbecue at GDQ is just
Mhm.
always a good time. Good God. Um, yeah, I mean, those are just some of the many adventures that we've had at over the years. I guess the first time at GDQ 2016 that we had a party going and we all decided to like, at the time, yeah, I'm starting to get up there in age. I just had a birthday. I'm 30 now. 30's not old, but at the time, 2016, I was what 21, going on 22. So, and all your friend group is around that same age. So, you're like, oh yeah, we can buy alcohol and go and have a party and stuff. Um, so the my young self as well as the others were like, yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing called Red Stag. And so we got some Red Stag. We tried it, and we're like, dude, we love this thing. This is great. By night 4 of having just Red Stag, we couldn't even look at it anymore. We're like, this is disgusting. Get it out of here. It was like the meme of the week was just like, you guys want Red Stag? Oh God, no. Ooh, ooh.
Mhm.
Um, so just like making memories like that. Anytime you went out for disc golf, um, board game room stuff, like there's always going to be stuff you take away from each event.
Yeah. Yeah, I have my badge collection hanging on my wall just off screen too, and I can look at each one and be like, "Oh yeah, I remember something from this one."
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it cool to see how the badges have evolved as well?
Yeah, although mine all like have the same kind of text. So they all
Okay.
look pretty similar because my first one was 2018 and they've been kind of doing the same badge style ever
Have
since.
you seen the earlier ones?
I have seen them.
Okay.
They are very different.
They're very much smaller, very different.
Yeah.
But it's just cool to see how far that GDQ's come from one person's basement to what it is today.
Oh yeah. And I mean this last event they in total have raised 50 million. I mean that's crazy.
That's so crazy. That's just awesome. It just shows that they're doing something right. I mean, there's always been like a crowd of people that have been like, "Oh, GDQ's dying," and they've been saying that for the past like 7 years. I'm like, they're fine.
Who
They're doing fine.
Who cares? They're meeting their attendance cap and they're raising 2.5 mil. Oh no, who cares if
Yeah,
viewers
and
are slightly lower?
yeah, it's for charity and they're raising money. Like, come on. And I would say speedrunning is probably down across the board
Mm-hmm.
for everybody right now. Like, it's not in any sort of like dangerous spot, but it's just like it's hit its peak at one point. It could peak again at a future time, but as of right now, it hit its peak at one point, and we're kind of in the like the retracing point where we're trying to find out where that average is now. Um,
We're all chilling.
so
It's fine.
we're all vibing. Yeah,
We're
we're just
vibing.
vibing.
And you know
Speedrunning
what?
will never go away.
Oh no. I mean, hey, right now it's up there because Nintendo released a literal speedrunning game.
There you go.
Like that's crazy that that's real. It has like what looks like live split even in the bottom left corner. I mean,
Yeah.
it literally has Mario 1 any percent, world record holder, by the way.
Oh. Gas yourself up. Gas yourself up.
Exact. So, I mean, God, it's
Yeah.
still there. It's still like surprisingly prominent in just online culture.
Yeah. No, it's dope. It's awesome to see, and maybe again Nintendo doing this. I know at first they're like, you can't play the games like that. That's not how we wanted you to play the games. Now they're more so like, if it's something game breaking, they'll maybe patch it or whatever. But otherwise, they're like, hey, you can speedrun this game because we have a timer in it. Wow, that's cool. Isn't that right? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Well,
So
they did try to the game will stop you from doing wrong warps. So,
that's what I mean.
yeah.
They like if you can speedrun the game the way that they want you to speedrun it. So
Yeah.
it's like they're kind of on board, but not quite.
Not if they do something they didn't intend, then it's like, "Oh, no, no,
Yeah.
no. Don't
They're like, "Hey,
no, no,
speedrun
no.
this game." Wait, no, not like that.
Not like that." Although
So,
they didn't
yeah.
patch everything, so
Yeah, yeah. So it's they're kind of in a weird spot where it's like they are promoting it, but also not all of it.
well, I wonder if they just didn't know.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
I don't know. It's I don't know. Nintendo's such an interesting company. They definitely went after so many people back in the day, and now they're a little bit more relaxed about it and about
Mhm.
their music and everything. You just really never know. So
Yeah. I'm just happy they finally spelled speedrun correctly. Unlike Galaxy 2.
yeah,
They got there.
Really, they yeah, it takes some time. It's like you'll eventually get there, and they did. So that's cool.
But yeah, I mean, I definitely think speedrunning is still good. We're all good.
Oh
So,
yeah, no, speedrunning will never go away.
no.
Viewership will come and go, and there will always be like an audience for it. We've hit a peak at a certain point and it's retraced a bit down, but it's like it's still going to have an audience. There's always going to be people wanting to check out speedruns, and
Yeah.
there's always going to be one like people wanting to speedrun. Like I feel like there's a new generation of runners actually. Like again, for me, I'll say Mario 64 because that's the game I know the best. There's a new generation of runners over this last year that have pushed the game further than what my current generation was like. All right, we could hit this, and like 137 would be a ridiculous goal. Probably won't see it for a long, long, long time. Now people are like, okay, 136 get. Oh, I'm gonna hit a 135, and I'm like, you're doing things that are ridiculous.
Mhm.
Prime example: carpetless. For the
Yeah.
longest time, carpetless was like, yeah, maybe in theory something, but that'll never happen. And then I feel like this new generation's like, we need to make this happen.
Mhm.
And now you do it. Now you do it in runs. So,
Yeah, that was a crazy find. That whole thing, and that's another thing. Like, there's no matter how old the game is, usually there's gonna be something somewhere,
mhm.
and then that sparks a whole like interest in it too. So,
Oh yeah, no,
yep,
definitely, I agree
always
with that.
something.
There's always some big skip that will be found at some point. Um, hell, Ocarina of Time had a any percent run that was supposedly dead, and then way new strats were found on top of a brand new category with Ace. So it's just there's as long as people are willing to scrape and search and try to find like something will be found.
Yep. No matter how old the game is,
Yep.
that's just how it goes. Um, so when you got Choo Choo Charleston, that was your first GDQ run?
That was my first
Wow.
GDQ run. I had submitted things before, mainly Mario Party, which that that eventually did get in. I was on the couch for that one, so shout outs to Duck for letting me do that. But that one eventually got in. I had submitted it for like 7 years straight, and there was a no every time, and I was like, damn man, it would be so fun. Um, but I had submitted that. I submitted like a couple other games, mainly like Mario 64 Rando, and things like that. But Choo Choo Charles was like one of those runs where I was like, okay, I think this might have the best shot. It's a brand new game and it's a viral game. And it's one that I actually can run at like a top 5 level. I was like, maybe this will get in. And I started getting people telling me before I even submitted, like, hey, have you submitted this yet? You should do this because I think you'll get in. Like, this is not GDQ people. This is just like friends of mine, like Maxi, who does horror speed runs, and other friends. They're like, you should do this. And I was like, yeah, I probably was going to do it anyway. But like, when you get denied for uh would be like 7+ years straight, you're like, it's not looking so hot, but we'll try it. uh just to like wake up the next day to a bunch of messages from people that were excited, and then I was like, there's no shot, and then checking the list and being like, oh my god, it actually is green and not red, like it's in. And then it said something like, oh my god, I have to do this in front of everybody. Like it's a cool experience, and again, that's the only time I've ran so far, but I haven't really submitted since that. I might start looking at other games to submit. Um, but yeah, that was certainly a moment where I like teared up at home because I was like, it's been like 8 years of trying and you finally get it. Like same thing happened with me with like partnership on Twitch. Like I had tried 12 different times over a couple year span. Got denied every time. And then you finally get that one that goes through and you're like, that journey's over. You finally did it. You know, you get emotional about it.
Mhm.
So I had a similar thing with the speed run. It was awesome, man. It was such a good run. Couch was great. The audience, like people showed out in the audience for that. I had a lot of good friends that were like that. They understood like this was my first one. They want to show up for it. That's the thing about GDQ is a lot of supportive people that are just there for the good vibes. And as long as you're not a dick, you know, people are going
Mhm.
to be supporting you and being like, dude, do what you want to do and stuff. Um, so it was definitely one of the most memorable moments. And I had Fu doing hosting for it at the same time. She like vetoed everybody else and was like, I want to host for Birds Run because I want to. And I was like, that's awesome. Like we got to do a cool special thing for 20 minutes on stage, and that was great.
Yep. And it's a good example of just you can't give up when it comes to submissions. Like
Yes.
eventually it'll probably work out.
Yes. If your game has any potential of speedrun, which is pretty much every game, and it like I don't even want to say if it's not like vulgar. Like I guess there might be a couple of banned games. Like you don't want to speedrun Honey Pop on stage because that will never happen, right?
Yeah,
You
there's a
don't like
list of banned stuff.
there is banned stuff.
Just don't do
But
that and you'll be fine.
yeah, you stay away from those. Um like I don't know. I always say like if you really want to get something in GDQ, just submit as much as you can. They give you like 5 slots of 2 categories each or something like that and incentives. Like if you can offer up 5 games and do them at a decently well pace, like just do it. If it's something you really want to do, like don't let anything hold you back. Don't be like, "Oh man, I didn't get in the last 2 years, so there's no shot." Like just keep trying. The prime example I say is like Mario Party. I tried for 7 years. I didn't get it. And then Duck tried like I think a year after that and then got it on the 3rd attempt. So it's just like you just got to bang your head against the wall and just
Mhm.
keep trying. There's so many runs that get submitted. They can only take so much. But they cycle out the games all the time. So if it's a game that hasn't been shown or hasn't been shown in a very long time and has new stuff or it's a different category, like I just try. Just try it.
Mhm. And yeah, I mean, there's always going to be other events too. You can always try that
Yeah.
out, but yeah,
Yeah.
be
There's a lot of, like,
persistent.
online. Yeah, there's a lot of online events. Obviously, pace is a different thing. I heard they actually do some, like, just casual runs at pace as well on stage.
Yeah, it's
Um
24-hour and they only have like 8 to 10 of those hours per day doing the tournament, so the rest is showcase runs.
Yeah, so there you go. Like, there's other events you could look into, and, I mean, I don't know how games community does it for GDQ, but I'm sure if a game goes really well at a different event, like a pace or something, or like a GDQX, which they do at TwitchCon,
Mhm.
maybe it goes to the main line. And again, if it's not on the main line, it's not the end all be all, you know. But it's a cool milestone to try to hit.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, it's great examples like for your submission video. Like you need to include a video and it's probably better if it was done live with your commentary and it's like, okay, this is a good example of why it could be on this bigger thing.
Mhm.
So yeah.
I would almost recommend like not intentionally make mistakes, but like if you make mistakes, that's good for the submission.
Mm,
You don't want a perfect run because I feel like they don't want to see a perfect run. If a perfect run happens on stage, that's great. But they also want to see like, okay, if I screwed up this trick, I'm going to talk about it real quick and be like, oh yeah, I messed up this trick. This wasted about a minute, which is why I put my estimate at like 45 instead of like 40 because it's safety just in case I do happen to miss this, whatever. Like including that kind of stuff while you're doing your commentary is good for them to know. Like, okay, so not only they're not trying to submit a perfect run that took them 1,000 tries to try to get. They just submitted a run that was like pretty good. It was under their estimate, and it talked about any mistakes that happened. Like, okay, this would cost X amount of time, and it's either likely or unlikely that it will happen. You know, like providing that information, I think could help provide some like background for anyone who's doing games committee. And again, I haven't talked to games committee or anything like that, so I could be just talking on my butt. But I just feel like that is a better showcase. Is like it's okay to have mistakes in your video. You don't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's usually better to submit a live showcase than like a PB. Like a PB is probably going to be mistakeless and gives a bad representation of what it would more realistically look like.
Hmm.
So,
Yes.
yeah. Sometimes you need to like put together a reset run as your submission, not just a PB, and that probably looks better.
Yeah, because then again, it offers that like, hey, this is how a not great run could work. I think my Choo Choo Charles run was like I got like an 18 at GDQ. I think my estimate was like 22 or 23. And I submitted like a 20 or 21-minute time because I was like, okay, basically everything went wrong in this video, did go wrong, RNG wise or whatever. And I still came under estimate. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's pretty good. I expect to be better. And then at GDQ, I was 3 minutes under my submission video. So like it's good to have those in there, I think.
Yeah. So that's the advice based on experience for GDQ submissions.
There you go. Also, I failed for like 7 or 8 years, so I don't know, but
But hey,
no,
that
but
also proves persistence is key. Don't give up on your dreams.
hell yeah. Please chase those dreams. Don't stop.
Keep gambling. You will win.
Thank you. Shout out to Tones. Let's go
Let's
gambling.
go gambling. God, that meme was everywhere.
Oh God, it was.
I'm sure because the guy was there. Like the guy that made that meme was at GDQ. I got to meet him, so
Oh, sweet.
I wonder. I mean, he's probably okay with it, but people were just saying it everywhere. At least in our group, I wonder if that would be annoying. It's like,
I feel like
damn,
after a while, yeah.
yeah, like you got to get burned out at some point. Although what was cool, he showed me the original flip note. He could edit
Oh.
like the raw data if he wanted to.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah,
pretty awesome.
yeah, that was cool.
I
But
think I was shown that meme with the caption of "This is how you fight King Boo in Super Mario Sunshine," and then it was
yes,
just constant. Oh dang it!
yeah. Also,
So good.
I can imagine Mario Party fits the bill too. So,
Yeah, you often say "oh dang it" or other expletives,
hmm
but it's fun if you're just starting out. I will say it's a good run. It's just I don't know if I recommend grinding for world record. It's just a little tedious. It
yeah, but
was
someone's
very
got
fun.
to do it. So
Someone's got to do it.
that's
You
how
could
it
be that
is.
person.
Well, so I know we might have briefly touched on it, but any future speedrunning plans, like immediate future, far future, etc.
Immediate future is Mario Galaxy 1. We're
Mm-hmm.
currently relearning all of two player for 120 because I've never done two player before. And luckily, a lot of stars don't have that big of a difference, but there are quite a few that do and are currently practicing those. So I would say Galaxy 1's the immediate. Galaxy 2 is the eventual as well because I do want to get better for the 602 next time around. And again, like a 22-hour time would be dope.
Mm-hmm.
So those two are in the immediate. Um, as a Mario Party guy,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see how the new Mario Party that's coming out plays. The Jamboree, I think it
Jamboree,
is.
yeah.
Yes. And I want to see if that has some fun stuff. So I'll probably be looking into that eventually when that's all good to go. I also wanted to do like a challenge run or a speed run of Wii Sports Resort,
Ooh.
just like all sports, whatever, and then like challenge runs of like best score in the disc golf or like a perfect 3 point contest, like things like that. Um, so that might be on the docket soon, but I think right now focus is Galaxy One, Two, um, Mario Party Jamboree, and Wii Sports Resort a little bit later on down the line. And then, Mario 64 is going to be all around.
Mm-hmm.
It never goes away. It's like a virus. Um, so that, oh, and I will say Archipelago. I touched base on this early in the podcast, but I don't know. Have you ever done an Archipelago or seen one?
No.
Okay, so you don't know anything about it.
Nope.
Okay, do you know what a multi-world is?
Yes.
Okay. So a multi-world randomizer of, let's say, Ocarina of Time. Typically, you'd have two or more players. This is for just people I don't know.
Mhm.
Um, two or more players. They're they're both playing different Ocarina of Time games, and they both have their items randomized. But with the multi-world, the items can be thrown into each other's games. So let's say Ace and I are playing Ocarina of Time, and I find Ace's hookshot in my game. I collect it. It gets sent to his game. He can now use that hookshot, and he can find my bow, and then I, can now use a bow. So that's a multi-world. An archipelago is a multi-game multi-world.
Oh, okay. I have heard of that.
And yeah, it's awesome because there's so many supported games, and you could play games that are not supported and just do it manually, but there's a lot of different clear conditions. Let's go ahead and say, hey, Ace, you're playing Mario 64
Okay.
randomizer. I'm doing Ocarina of Time, and let's throw Spike in there for Donkey Kong, DK64. Um, I could find Spike's like banana in my game after doing the Dampe race, and he'll all of a sudden be in his game going, "Oh, banana," um, and then from that point, he could clear a game and get a reward that would normally be a banana, but it ends up being your wing cap.
Mm.
So that means now you have wing cap unlocked. And then all of a sudden you hit your wing cap, you can now fly to get a star, you collect the star. It's not actually a star, it's my hook shot. Hey, I can go further in my temple now. And then I found a couple power stars in the temple for you.
Mm.
And now that gave you enough to unlock a door and progress. So it's that with a bunch of games, and you just work together to do everything, and try to clear everybody's game, which is super fun. It does remind me that Minecraft is one of those games,
Mm.
and it's a randomizer where the structures are all thrown around as well, so you don't know which like zone they're in. And you can't craft anything. You have to have people find the recipe for you. So
Oh,
you
good
can
God.
find somebody's like, you now have the ability to make stone tools because I found your progressive tools or progressive weapons. Um, and then your checks in that game would be the advancements itself. So you try to do like, I don't know, like getting a bucket of water was an advancement, but it could be a power star for you. Um, and I guess I did kind of forget that I did speedrun Minecraft for a little bit actually as well. That was a fun time. I knew I forgot something. But
Sounds like
yeah,
it
so
was
it's
memorable.
it was. I mean, it was fun, but it was definitely like random to the max. So,
Of course. You should be used to
but
it though.
yeah, all these years of Mario Party kind of set me up for that. Um, No, but Archipelago is so fun because again, it's a teamwork thing. You work together to try to get the items that you need to do all the stuff. And then at a certain point as well, you can hint if you need to, and it'll be like, "Hey, I don't know, GT Ace's upstairs key is in Bird's Forest Temple," and then I would go ahead there, grab it, and then now you have access to the upstairs in Mario 64. Like it just you work together. It's so fun. I've done multi worlds with like 50 plus people before, or 50
Holy
plus
crap.
games.
Okay.
Um, yeah, 50 plus games. That was super fun. The biggest multi world I've ever done was for Ocarina of Time only. Spike put it together, and it had initially 256 people.
What the?
Um,
Oh my God.
but a lot of people dropped out, so I think we did one with like 100 people. So it was just 100 Ocarina of Times, and you all try to just work together to win. I think it took like 14 hours for my game to be done, but it was so fun.
Jesus.
It's a good time.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know too much about this. Like, I've heard of the whole multi-world thing. Like, they've showed it at GDQs. I mean,
Mhm.
isn't that kind of what Spike and Gymnast did? It was right before my run. They did, or that was a co-op. Maybe that was slightly different.
Yeah, that was a co-op rando, so like close enough, but you're not sending the items to each other.
Okay, got it.
So this is more so like you can't progress unless I find your item if it's in my game, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's like a thing called BK mode because I believe somebody they got stuck in their game, they couldn't leave, so they were like, or they couldn't do anything, so they're like, I'm gonna go get Burger King and come back and eat, and they did
Oh,
that.
I
So
thought
now
this was
everybody
gonna be
calls it.
like some Banjo Kazooie stuff, but okay.
Nope, it's just Burger King.
It's just Burger King. Got it.
Yep, and they left and got Burger King. So whenever you're stuck and you can't progress anymore, and you're waiting for somebody else to help you out, you're in BK mode and you're just doing whatever. Whether that's eating food or playing a different game on the side or just talking up with your chat, like
Yeah.
you're in BK mode.
Yeah.
So
You got me interested to look this up and learn more because I didn't realize how big this could be.
oh, it's huge, yeah. And they have SMW as one of the supported
Mhm.
games. I don't know if they have like the OG Mario Bros. Because I don't
I don't
know
know
if
what you
there's
could do with that.
much.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
but there's a bunch of. I mean, there's a ton. And again, if your game isn't listed on there, you could still set it up manually, which it takes a little bit of work, but it's doable.
Hmm. Well, how unique.
Yeah, very fun. I would recommend it. It looks like it's a lot to set up, but if they lay out the instructions very well to where it's a lot of steps, but it's straightforward steps.
Hmm. Yeah, that's cool. That sounds like good, like GDQ content. Have they done something like that?
I don't think they've done an official archipelago yet,
Hmm.
but I
That could
would.
be cool to have like 3 different games on their layout, and you all gotta beat them all in their own
Yeah,
way. And you could have a
I would.
specialist for each of the respective games. That'd be cool.
I would love that. Yeah, just I think you do some safe games and then you just go from there, and you can tweak the settings to make it not as difficult or more difficult. So,
Hmm. Make it
um,
marathon friendly. Yeah.
yeah, definitely like maybe like 2 to 2.5 hour range or something like that. Um, but yeah, I think it would be very fun.
Hmm. Well, I know we're getting close to the cutoff point we established, and
Oh yeah,
I think I asked everything. I thought there was one other thing I was gonna bring up, but slipped my mind. So maybe we're good.
that's all good. Yeah, no, I always like to think if I'm ever involved with something like this, I always try to think of ways. I'm like, what if I just flipped it on you and started asking you questions and stuff? But nothing came to mind off the top of my head because we kind of already discussed some of the stuff.
I'm bad at answering questions. That's why I do that. I let the other people talk. I just sit here and listen. That's what I do best.
Well, that's fair. Hopefully, I talked well for you. I had fun
I'd
going
like to
through
think
memory
so.
lane.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, it's super fun. I don't know. I like talking about all the good stuff and reminiscing on speedrunning because it is different nowadays, but um, just reminiscing about how it was back then and I think how it's improved in many ways now and stuff like that. Like I feel like back in like 2013, 2014, it was definitely a little bit more competitive in terms of not like times and stuff, but like people like communities weren't as close as I think they are nowadays. Which is cool to see growth in that way to where everybody's like super down to help out everybody. Whereas back in the day, it might have been a little bit more like, I'm gonna do this thing for me. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like it wasn't that way all the time or everywhere, but um, just seeing different communities grow more and more is really cool. So
Yeah. And I did remember I was gonna ask if you have dabbled with or have plans to dabble with YouTube content side of things, since that's a similar
oh
aspect of speedrunning.
yeah, I mean I've started to do more YouTube stuff, but I think YouTube's in such a weird position in terms of like content
Hmm.
because I posted some speedrunning content on there, but I've also posted not speedrunning content, and both have done like decently well to where I'm like, I don't know which direction I want to go, right?
Hmm.
So I it for speedrunning itself, I don't know if it will fit on the YouTube as often. I've definitely done like a couple of videos where I've like carried over the content from GDQ and put it on my YouTube channel because they allow for that.
Hmm.
Um, But there's also been stuff that I've like reacted to old YouTube or old clips of runs from me. Like I did do a video of like watching my very first PB on stream from
Hmm.
2014 and I was like, "Damn, that looks awful. Why did anybody want to watch?" Like holy crap. Like it was bad, but it was that kind of fun side of stuff. I don't know if I would put traditional runs on there. Um and it's not like anything's wrong with them because they do well on YouTube with like other people doing them. But
Hmm.
I almost want to keep YouTube an open, at least an open platform for like putting anything on there. I might just develop a second channel that's strictly speedruns
Yeah, I
and
was
put
gonna
stuff on there.
say you can always just make channel number 2 and put all your stuff there
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, there's a good chance that that would happen,
Mhm.
in comparison to, like, um, just combining with current stuff. I feel like I would probably benefit better from doing a second channel for
Mhm.
that. So yeah, maybe we put some more content on there on a second channel.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
Well,
bird runs or something like that.
there you go. Well, I think that's everything I was
Awesome.
gonna I was gonna ask. So, yeah, if there's anything I missed that I don't know we didn't go over, let me know.
Then it's too bad.
No, too bad. All right, fair enough.
No,
Also,
no, I think that's about all I can think of.
all right. Well, then please self promote yourself.
Oh God. All right. God, I feel so comfortable at everything except for that, but we'll give it a shot. Hi. Once again, I'm Bird. If you don't know me, I do a lot of speedrunning stuff and other horror games on the same side for Twitch. I like playing with a lot of goofy friends. I like speedrunning, so you'll catch me doing one or the other probably. That's twitch.tv/bird650. I have a YouTube channel. The current YouTube channel probably has more casual stuff. There'll probably be a second channel after talking to Ace about this stuff that I would probably throw for speedruns. The current channel is Bird650 as well, Bird650. And then I have obviously Twitter. Everything is Bird650. So
Yeah.
if you're trying to look for something, it's probably going to be that. So
And it's
heck
on
yeah.
stream and in the YouTube description, so you can find it
Boom!
easily. Yeah.
There it is. Holy crap. And go subscribe to GTAce, okay?
Oh,
Some
okay.
fire content there. Do it on Twitch, do it on YouTube.
All
Boom.
right.
Uno
Well,
reverse.
no reverse card.
Now shout yourself out now, okay?
All right.
God.
Yeah. So this is being recorded the day before it goes uploaded on YouTube, but last night I did hit 1.4 thousand on
Ooh, let's
YouTube.
go.
W's in the chat. Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's a huge W.
So 1.5K soon. Who knows?
Doing a special for it?
Oh, I don't know. I don't. YouTube's
That's
YouTube's
fair.
never something I focused on. At least not that channel. That channel
Yeah,
is strictly speedrun PBs. If I do a
yeah.
casual playthrough, it'll be there. Whatever. I haven't
Okay.
dabbled with the content side of things yet. So the fact that my channel is as big as it is, when it's just like my stream highlights,
Mhm.
essentially, that's pretty good. I mean, this
Yeah,
show's on it, of course, but I do stream that too. So it's you know.
yeah. No,
But
keep
yeah.
it up. Keep doing it. Yeah.
Oh, we're still doing it. I mean, this is
Hell yeah.
only episode 75. I'm never gonna hit 650 if I don't keep going, right?
You damn right. And I'll be there for it.
We'll see. I mean, let's see. I do an episode a week. There's 52 weeks in a year. Whoo!
Yeah, as long as I don't die before then, I'm there.
We got like a decade almost. I don't know.
I believe. I believe in the dream.
The dream. Yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, I guess yeah, we'll end things off here though. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you're watching live, the YouTube video will be up tomorrow. If you're watching on YouTube, it's the usual time. See you next week. You know how it is. Um, you did the promoting for me, so I guess I'll just call it there. The less work I have
Sorry.
to do, the better. So I mean,
Incredible.
all right. Well, yeah. Just thanks for watching, everyone. Take care and see you next time. All right. Bye now. Bye.